Hello there, Doom is Deadites. It is me, your producer, the Motherlode. I know it's been a long hiatus since we had an episode. Bones has been busy, and since he was too busy to get us a new episode, we've got HateDaddy here. So this is the first episode of the HateDaddy podcast. He's an awesome interviewer. Really excited for you to hear this. It's about 3 hours long. They wanted me to cut it up into parts, but I said, nah, fuck that. That wouldn't do it any justice. So here you are. HateDaddy, take it away, brother.
Hello, everybody. HateDaddy here, and welcome to the first iteration of the HateDaddy podcast, where I discuss with Doomers their pasts, their presents, and everything in between. These type of interviews are going to be semi-structured. I will note that it's going to be kind of a no-holds-barred approach. But keep in mind, my goal here isn't to circle jerk with people or to push any sort of narrative. My goal in all of these is to be objective and not necessarily contrarian, because obviously there will be moments where I agree and disagree with people. But the goal here is not to just circle jerk. So with that being said, my first guest, a longtime friend of mine, Ru5tK1ng. He has been in several clans, which include Sin, Astro Clan, Unidoom, FU, and A3, which he is still currently a member of. He's gone by the names of Deception while he was in Sin. Rust in Peace was another alias of his back in the day. We had some other clans and stuff. He went under some other cool names. Sever was one of them in Ways to Kill, which was a clan that me, him, his brother, and a few other guys were in. He was a former multiple-time International Doom League captain back in the day. He was also on the board for the IDL, and he's won various tournaments in Z-Damon and Zandronum. But perhaps most importantly, he has won 5 Caco awards with CTF maps, DM maps alike. One of them being the Progressive Duel, and Eon Deathmatch was his first, which I actually helped him with. And when I say helped him with, I did nothing and he did everything. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce him. So I am here with Ru5tK1ng. So yeah, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How's it going?
It's another day in paradise. That's what white people say when they're really going through it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
White people have any problems though?
So tell me about yourself. When did you start playing Doom?
Probably when I was about the first time, 14 or 15. I was part of a different community entirely. They just had up a server on Z-Damon, and he kind of just gave out a private server IP and password. It was just mainly deathmatch. So that's when I first got exposed to it, because I had never played the game as a kid. And then after a while, everybody kind of like lost interest and went on to do other things. And then I ditched it as well. And I didn't return to it till about late 2004, like December, when it was still 106. That's pretty much when I started playing it.
Dude, 106.
I was about like 15, I think, about that time.
You were on dial-up, right?
Yeah. This was back in the day.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, but I don't think I ever played with you while you were on dial-up. But I know that you. There was a time you went back to it too, if I remember correctly, while you were in Sin.
Yeah, it was just they were fuck Comcast. They always like raise the prices and lower your quality or never improve anything. But that's how all ISPs are. They'll screw you over because they don't give a shit about you.
Fucking dicks, they're criminals, dude.
Yeah. Monopoly, too.
Yeah. Not the game. That's a fun game.
Yeah, that's fun. Because you're the one paying for it.
You're right. Yeah, and you're the one that fucking loses the quality. Trust me, I know. Mine is the same way. Like, my SP is total shit. But what can you do, right?
Move.
Yeah.
Move to where there's like fiber or something. That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, we do have fiber, but I'm not paying for that. That shit's way too expensive right now. But it might be something I do in the future. Who knows? But with all that time, and when you started and you came back, to me, like, I always look at you as like a Sin member. Obviously, like, your time in Sin is basically a fraction of what you've done in the Doom community, right? Like it, but that to a lot of people, especially in our day, was like really iconic to people because the name was cool, the theme was cool. So when did you actually get into Sin? Like, how did you get in? Like, who discovered you?
I think it was because I ran into a duel server where they had like Wrath and Greed and they were dueling, and I just saw them regularly because it was always D5 and 7. That was like the home field. So I just kind of played with them a bit, and I got destroyed because I was dial up and I was never a duel or anything at that time. So I just kind of was around them to play games here or whatever. And then one day I kind of was like, I told Greed, I was like, hey, can I join? And he's like, yeah, I was waiting for you, that kind of shit. So they brought me in. And although I didn't really get to play too much in the beginning because my dial up was just so bad, you know, people complain now about having to, oh, I got to aim on Zandronum or Ultimax, like ahead or behind. I had to like literally have, it was like that every fucking shot because of the lag. It was like 180 ping, so constant. I was always aiming ahead of people, like by, I don't know, like 3 Marines.
Dude, you're so right.
That's how it was. So yeah, I was just around them, and it was about 05, and then that's how I got in. And you're right, like the fraction is just a fraction because we disbanded in 2007,
2008, I think.
or 8, something
Maybe,
like that.
maybe it was
We're
7.
falling apart in 7.
Yeah, 7 was a blur, to be honest.
So it was only like 2 or 3 years max.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it felt like it was forever, right? That's because it was like
Well, it's because everything was happening around that time. There was still a lot of clan wars happening.
Right. I guess that's true.
UD wasn't banned yet, so
Well, we had private servers too, so even when they were, like, we could still play with them.
That was more of the latter half, though. I'm talking about before the whole IDL was ever a thing. There was always clan wars and stuff, and people playing a lot, and people actually play TDM for a change. So there was always stuff going on. Right. So that's why it seemed like it was like a lot going on, and it was a longer time because there's just so much crap going on.
Right. I mean, I think looking back at that time too, what's really interesting to me is that was how we all got in Sin. Like, we basically would go into those servers and get bodied in D5M7. And we're just like, I just want to keep playing. And I had mentioned that you were right about the ping. Because, like, dude, people could complain about high ping now, but, like, back in the day, I don't know how people on dial-up did it. Like, I don't know how you guys did it. Because that shit was unforgiving. Like, 120 plus felt unplayable. Now, like, 120 is like a superpower.
Yeah, if you get 120, so from the US to like the UK, you're fucking unstoppable.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you're only playing like 90% to 95% of your full abilities if you get that kind of ping.
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, whereas back then it was debilitating. Like,
well, it's like the only exception if you play on like the shitty Czech servers, they're still bad to this day, if I recall. Like, they were the worst for Americans, and every European wanted to play on it because they got like 5 to 10, mainly the Czechs, but you know.
Yeah, well, that's when your country is like the size of your thumb.
Yeah, who didn't want to play with 10 ping anyway?
I mean, it just depended. It's like looking back at just how funny that was because, yeah, I mean, back then, like, if you had anything higher than like 80 to 90 ping, you were effectively a runner. And CTF at least. Like, you could not be a super shotgunner with that kind of ping. Like, it was unheard of. And even in dueling and stuff, yeah, like, you had to like basically spam BFG and rockets to make up for that. You did not want to get into close altercations where reaction time would be the decider because you automatically lost.
Yeah, that's why people didn't want to play on the West Coast because the East Coast players, it was just terrible for them to go across country.
Yeah.
So people like Josh Smith or whoever else was on the West Coast had to suffer.
Wasn't Metal Black? Wasn't he West Coast?
I don't know. I never knew Metal Black.
I didn't know him that well. I know Bones is now, but Bones has been back and forth.
Yeah, he can't make up his mind, so who knows?
Yeah, hippie. But yeah, so as we talk about Sin, yeah. What is your? Because obviously we were both Sin members, but like, what is your defining memory of Sin? Like, do you have kind of just this memory? Like, I don't know. Like, when you think of Sin, like that, like, go, just shoot. right now, I say Sin, what comes to mind?
DOI dodged us. We beat J-Kiss clan in a clan war. We beat a clan, the Bro clan, when they had cheaters, and we still beat their ass. So I probably say those 3 things.
Dude, I wasn't a part of Sin when y'all beat. When y'all beat Bro, I was just coming in, and I wasn't even a part of the clan when the war actually happened. But that DUI stuff was dog shit, man.
Yeah, deleting posts, locking topics. That's all fucking Bones' fault.
Dude, so like...
Oh, no, it was Romeo's fault.
Yeah, no, Romeo was the moderator for the clan section.
Yeah, for some reason. Because the guy didn't play Doom anymore at that point.
Oh, that's because like the Z-Damon administration used to kiss up the DUI like hardcore. Was it like Raider and DUI at one point?
I think they're honorable members like that.
Fuck off.
If you go look at the site,
Yeah, DUI and the WoW gold being stolen by ICE.
Yeah. They kicked him out of their clan for stealing gold on WoW, and they made it sound like he killed somebody. Like, you betrayed us, the Brotherhood. How could you? We thought of you as a pal. You shamed us, and all kinds of shit. Like, all right, come on. It's just fucking WoW. Nobody dying on the front lines.
Do you remember the best part of that quote? I don't remember who said it, but they ended that quote with, "By the way, pal, your BFG skills suck ass."
Yeah, I don't remember Eyes being noteworthy for anything, to be honest. Other than stealing gold, and that's it. I don't remember him being any.
Do you remember? No, he had a picture, and he was like a stupid looking dude.
Cross-eyed.
Yeah, he was like real goofy looking. Like, he wasn't bad looking. Like, I'm not saying he was ugly. Like, I think I remember him being like a decently looking guy, but he just had a perpetual dumb look on his face.
Could have been just a bad picture.
I mean,
who knows? I don't know. I never interacted with the guy.
Or he was just confused as to why DUI left their gold out in the open like that. I'm not sure.
They made it sound like he borrowed money in real life and left them in debt and shit. It's like, come on, it's just WoW gold. You ain't fucking gotta take out a loan or refinance your home or something.
They started a fucking pyramid scheme and left them in the dust.
Yeah,
I know, man. That shit was whack. Yeah, that whole situation was dumb.
They dodged us. They were gonna lose. There was no way in hell they were gonna beat us. They were so out of touch at that point. They may have won in duels, but they weren't going to touch us in TDM or CTF by any chance.
Dude, they weren't even. We played 2 duels.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, we did.
I played, right?
Because I played Tells and Tells at D5M7 and I rocked his ass. And I think Arrogance actually played somebody in map 1. I think it was Dread, and I think he actually beat Dread in map 1. And he was supposed to be like him and Niv were supposed to be like their
map 1 gods. Yeah. They're top duelers and they got swamped. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we swept them.
That's when we're done with this. They dodged for the.
And like there was a big thread like where we challenge them and everything, right?
Yeah, that's still up there until it gets deleted. So you might as well take a screenshot while you're at it.
I mean, I used to have screenshots of it. It's on my old computer, but that's
archive.org that shit before they delete it. But yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, I'm not that interested.
We didn't play shit, so we just took victory because they were just going to dodge. They knew where they were going to lose. They couldn't play CTF to save their soul.
Though, like, that's really funny. I feel like that was kind of the catalyst for, like, the end of the clan era.
When they started dodging, probably. But I would probably say that was a catalyst, and then probably DX beating up on all the lesser clans that didn't want to play anymore.
Right, but, like, if you think about it, like, DUI dodging is what led to DX.
I guess so, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, they talked mad shit. Remember how they, like, used to go into servers and beat up on a bunch of noobs? And that included us when we were, first getting introduced to the game. And they would talk, like, mad shit. And then in IRC, it would just be, unbelievable shit. And some of them, Trigger in particular, would go around just, like, dropping the N-word. And I'm not talking about with the A. I'm talking about the hard ER. So, like, to me, like, that guy's dog shit. Like, he wasn't a good player and he was a fucking horrible person. But, yeah, they talked so much shit and yet, they never played and they never backed it up. And you had DX that kind of came together. Like, long story short, you had, RFA collapse and TC collapse basically at the same time?
Well, I don't say collapse, but I think their stronger members win. It was also LDF, too. It
was LDF, right?
Chaotix and Josh Smith were from LDF.
Well, Chaotix also was in TC too, right?
Was he? I don't know. Ask him.
Well,
Maybe highlight his ass.
Well,
He probably.
he was definitely in LDF too.
I think what was he, the variant? Well, that was Rogue.
No, he wasn't that was Rogue. That was the I think he just
Oh,
went under Chaotix or
probably.
Hero. He went under Hero.
Oh, TC Hero.
Yeah, he went under Hero. That's right.
Yeah, all those guys were, Chain left from UD at that time, I think.
But he was also in RB too. But there was like the whole thing with
UD. UD never allowed multi-clanning because what happened was it was Devastation's fault. He was in HC and UD at the same time, and then HC and UD had like this clan war, and he kind of was caught in the middle of it. And they even said on their fucking wiki, I remember reading it years ago, that like he was banned, he was kicked from UD, and they led to no multi-clanning. So, yeah,
it's everybody's. But I've never been in UD, dude.
you're missing out. It's
No.
an interesting experience.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm friends with most, like all of them. Like I like Fran a lot. I like Ralph. Blair's a good dude. Bones is okay. I've gotten to really like Zen, but yeah, I never had any interest in joining their clan. Honestly, after Sin fell apart, we had our little run with AC, but like I never really cared too much for clans after that. But
yeah, I think our highlight in AC was beating Window Breakers clan. Repeatedly, we smacked them around repeatedly.
Yeah, dude. he's something, man. I'm gonna do an interview with Nautilus at some point. Nautilus lived with him in person for a little bit.
Really?
Dude, the stories that I've heard, just even like I don't know how long they lived together, but like holy shit, that guy was a case.
Well, you could tell by the way he talked in the server.
Oh yeah. Well, like Vadim always Vadim, he used to like tell me this story because he what was it? Was it about he couldn't pronounce Hennessy? I don't remember. He couldn't pronounce. Was it? Oh, God, I'll have to ask him. It was an alcohol. He couldn't pronounce it.
Heineken, Hennessy. If you're going with H's, I don't know.
I don't remember. I'll have to ask him. But basically, he couldn't pronounce it, and like he was on Discord, not Discord because we didn't have Discord back then. He had TeamSpeak, and he was on with some other chick, and he was like trying to game this chick down, and he couldn't pronounce it, and she started laughing at him, and like both Vadim and him were like laughing at him, and he started crying. Yeah, yeah, dude. But like,
that's window break for you.
Yeah, but like, Not told me that like this guy is fucking crazy. Like, he would like get into fights all the time, and like,
what did you lose him to? Like the clan war? Or clan screams?
Oh, I mean, we never lost to them, but I'm talking about like real life.
He lose.
Oh, yeah.
Like he lost the server.
No, Not said he was fucking crazy. Like, I mean, you get into that many fights, like eventually, like you're gonna learn how to fight, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Experience.
Yeah, the guy was unstable. I mean, I'm not saying I want to fuck with him like in real life or anything, but that doesn't mean I can't look at him and be like, fuck, dude, you need some help, man. Like, you need something, bro. But like, I think going back to the thing about DX, I think the point was like, I know RFA was falling apart. Like, that much I know. I don't know about the other clans.
It's over to Juggalo. It was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's another guy that nobody cares for. We'll just leave it at that.
I told you about it.
I know.
And I know you every 5 years. I told you it was a piece of shit.
I know, man.
As soon as you left that server, he immediately started shit talking. And that was hilarious.
So
it was funny.
Give people a little bit of context on that, because like obviously we're talking about it, but
because when you joined Sin, you didn't realize like the baggage of like people not liking us or people didn't like you because they felt you were better than them just because you joined a clan. You know how it always goes.
Yeah.
You were cool with them when they didn't like us, and we told you like, hey, they got beef with us for whatever reason. They're probably not going to be like super friendly with you, and you didn't want to listen, and you were like, nah, that's cool. I was like, all right, maybe you're right, sure. I remember I was aliasing in the server. It was a dual server. I remember I joined. It wasn't me. I didn't say a single thing. And you were there and you were talking with Juggalo and somebody else from RFA. And I remember you were like, yeah, all right, man, take it easy. I'll see you later. As soon as you disconnected, he started saying shit about you. Like, man, that guy's really pissing me off. He's being a bitch lately and this and that. And I gave you the screenshots and you were like, oh, eye-opening experience, and I was like, I told you so.
Yeah, I was young. I was naive.
Well, that's how I had to tell you how the things were about this, nonsense.
I mean, You're
I don't
right.
remember why they didn't even like us, but when you have a clan where you got somebody like who was his name? The one that fucking DDoS Z-Damon?
Who, Pot or Codimp? Or are you
No,
talking
not
about
Cody.
Pox?
No, damn it. He had an IRC and he started botnetting or doing
Oh,
something.
you talking about T-Death?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
For
his
like no
ugly
reason.
ass.
What do you expect?
Yeah, dude. Well, they, like, honestly, to sum up, like, Juggalo and them, like, they were, like, counterculture people. Like, literally just because, like, they wanted to be contrarian. Because, like, we never did anything to them. I didn't have any problems with them, did you?
I don't remember doing anything directly to them. I mean, the only thing I can think of is they lost the pub server match and they didn't like whatever we said afterwards. Who knows? That's what everybody fucking did. Everybody A-list in pub and like stomped everybody and talked shit and then moved on.
Oh yeah. Do you remember when we would go under the name Border Patrol? Like Agent 1, Agent 2. And then one time a bunch of people came in and they just came in with the name Illegal Aliens. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we had like these epic fucking matches on a pub server. Like it was like 6v6, 5v5.
Five or
And
six, and they're just like everybody's just watching too, like these two clans A-listing going at it. It was actually pretty funny. I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was RFA or R or something like that.
yeah, I mean it was probably
One of the kids, so who the fuck knows?
it was probably like a blend of like the DX and RFA and all those guys. Just like we were a blend of like us. We had other people that were outside of Sin. I can't think of who. I know
There's
me, you, Denny.
Yeah, before they join, people who were on TS, because we're also on TS a lot, so who knows? I can't recall.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Sin, like as we've talked about a lot, like obviously there's a lot of history there. Obviously, how it ended.
Well, I
I
think.
go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say the main thing of why it ended is because Raph let it go, and he wasn't around. I forget the reason why. Maybe he didn't have any interest. So you and I kind of were just like taking over everything and making the decision what we're gonna do and this and that. And he would come along and be like, "Yeah, sure, okay, yeah." But then he actually wasn't happy with it because obviously it was his creation, his and his brother's creation. So I guess he felt like it was time just to call it quits. We did too because a lot of people stopped playing as well.
Yeah.
But I think after the NS war, that was kind of like our swan song, I guess. Because all I remember after that was just screaming DX or whoever.
Yeah,
You know,
but we were getting
nobody
smashed.
really had the. Yeah, well, everybody got smashed by DX because they took the best players and they took the best players that would constantly try to evolve the game. To what it was, because back then nobody knew anything about positioning and stuff like that and trying to I know everybody thinks of the Candy Kid like tricks and shit, but they don't show like the other 99 times he failed those jumps and tricks.
Yeah.
But the point is they had a core group of players that grinded it out, and that works out with anything. Like it doesn't necessarily just have to be Doom. Any FPS or even any other kind of game, fighting games or whatever, if you get like the top talent and they play each other over and over and over, they evolve their strategy and they get better because they're constantly grinding and they elevate themselves and the meta. That's just how it is, and they were the first ones to really do that because
Yeah.
nobody knew how to play CTF back then. They would just sit like two people in base and have the others like try to figure it out. That's why they stomped everybody
For
because
sure.
nobody was really playing as much and grinding as much as they did. So when they were the first ones to do it, that's why they had such a big step, and everybody kind of did this catching up over time, I guess. But by the time everybody started catching up over time, clans were pretty much irrelevant on Z-Damon for the most part.
Yeah.
Everything was the IDL.
And like they
But-
had the best CTF players too, right? Like
Well, at the time, I'd probably say, what, Roke, Candy Kid, Chaotix,
Chain Dude.
Dude, Metal Black, you can name them all,
Oh,
go
White
down.
Boy. White Boy might have been the best of them all at that time.
Yeah, at that time, they were the best. So it's natural. You take the best from all these other little clans, and it was literally a super clan.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like a bunch of randoms that were together and just decided they were already top players in their fucking clan.
Yeah.
So what do you expect? And that was kind of like the last of the Sin era, I guess, going back. So after Wrath came back, and I guess I forget what prompted us saying, hey, let's split it, I think people just weren't really interested anymore. They just kind of lost their passion for all the clan bullshit. And a lot of people were, because there weren't really any more clan wars. It was all like just scrims at that point. Nobody was really playing as much. A lot of the weaker, smaller, lesser clans weren't even around anymore. And if they were, they kind of just were into co-op and stuff, or whatever kind of crazy mods were at that time. I don't know if there were too many, but people just weren't really feeling the whole clan stuff anymore. So I think when it ended, it was probably for the best, because I think if we tried to stick around for another 3 years, it probably just would have really died a terrible, slow death.
Oh, it would have been dog shit for sure. It ended when it needed to.
Yeah, everybody moved on from that point. I think a lot of the other guys like Pride and Arrogance and Demon XP kind of went their own ways and played in the IDO and didn't really join any clans, or just left the game for some years. Like after that, I kind of didn't even really want to play anymore, because the old times were kind of over, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there was definitely like a big transition, but like Sin ended, like it's funny because I actually talked with Wrath like at this point it had been almost like 6 months ago. And it's the first time I'd talked to him since like the clan disbanded. So that was
like 10 years ago.
Oh, over 10 years, well over 10 years. And I mean, I definitely remember there was a lot of tension between you and him. I know that you never really cared for his style of leadership.
So I can clarify that once and for all. It was mainly the fact that he would kind of leave, but then he would also hint that he wasn't happy with the things or the way things were going, I guess. So if you're not around, why would you have any rights to complain about how things are going if it's not going the way how you envision the clan to be? So to me, it's like, well, make up your mind. Are you here or you're not? Because if you're not here, we're going to take the vehicle somewhere else, you know? So
yeah, but he didn't want to name a leader.
Exactly. He didn't like the way things were, but he didn't want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to pass the keys off and say, okay, this ain't me anymore. Here you go. Mantis X, Arrogance, whoever, you know, here, this is all you know.
Well, I could give context to that.
Yeah.
Well, because do you remember, so when I joined, that was right around the time that Greed was pretty much going away for good, right?
Yeah, he had already gone. He was done.
Yeah, so like they're the founders of the clan. Mm-hmm. And as you remember, when Greed left, Wrath promoted Mantis, Demon XP, to be the other leader of Sin, the co-leader. And it was always at that point, it was kind of like the unspoken thing that when Wrath decides to go away, Demon will be the full leader. But if you remember, they had a nasty falling out.
I know the story behind that too.
I do. Yeah, I'm not going to go into it, but
no, it's not even anything. It's not even anything big. They just had like a big argument over something like Mario Kart. And that was like the tipping point.
Well, there was. I mean, that was kind of like the byproduct of stuff. There was like personal stuff going on, and again, I'm not.
They never told me. I don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, I knew about it because I talked to Wrath about it. But like, yeah. Well, I always talk. Like, I know. Like, you never really talk to Wrath that much, but like I talk to Wrath all the time.
Well, I talk mainly more to Mantis. So
yeah. Like, I honestly, at that time, like, I looked up to Wrath almost like a big brother that I had never had. And I understand, like, exactly where you're coming from with being frustrated with him. That's why I look at Sin disbanding and, like, it had to. But back on about their little falling out, the problem is after they had that falling out, Wrath would not make him the leader. And you and I were competitively driven as fuck at that point. Like, we wanted to be better. And Mantis was too. Mantis wanted more players in the clan. And we had guys like Stal and Oath. Oath was fucking good back then. And Stal hadn't become the fucking turret defender that he would go on to be yet. But he was still a really good player at that point. And we had like good players. Metal Black, I think at one point wanted to join Sin. But Wrath was just like, no, I don't know. Like, and we had this archaic way of adding people to where it was like we had to like fucking vet them. You know, I know like I make jokes about like getting any help from Z-Damon. Like administration wants to do like a full-on background check, FBI style. They want your fingerprints and everything.
The same way. Like, make sure they weren't a cheater because we had that happen before. Or what was it?
And I get that, but like that was so obvious. But it would be other things too. They'd have to be like
remember him?
Yeah. I know. I know.
He was like godlike aim with like 255 ping that turned out he was an aimbot.
But that should have been obvious back then. Like,
yeah,
he
I
was,
know it was. It didn't take long to figure out. You know,
Like-
because I was actually annoyed because like you got this Australian, you're playing in Clan Wars with 255, and you won't even give me a chance.
right.
Then I was validated when it turned out his ass was like cheating. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
dude.
you know, they was like they wanted to prevent that ever happening again, so they had to like tighten up their background checks.
Yeah, but it wasn't just like they would be things like, you remember LB, Lord British, who was abuse. He
Yeah,
said
yeah.
like when we had the old Sin forums, he would say things like, yeah, like it was torture to get into the clan. Like after they finally introduced me to the clan and let me in. Like, yeah, dude, it took them like 3 months to let me in the fucking clan. And at that point I was friends with you. I was okay with Mantis. I got along really well with LB. Pride liked me. I got along with Arrogance. I got along with the whole fucking clan. Why don't you just let me in? And it was just like, no, we have to vet your character. Do you really want to be here? How old are you? Who is your first love? What's your shoe size? It's like, you know those Old Spice commercials where it's like, back here, over here, look at me, take here, take there. All right,
Look
back at me.
Look at your girl. Look back at me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, like
Well,
it was just,
that was just the old archaic way. I guess it worked back then because more people. It's just the whole nature of the internet too. Back in the early 2000s, things were just more personal. I guess.
yeah.
Now it's not so much. Not so much. You know, these days.
'Cause,
Back
like,
then,
every-
you know, you could give your name and everybody wouldn't even care. Nowadays, you give your name, people trying to fucking dox you on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's because like back then the internet was a luxury.
Yeah, primitive kind of.
Like it was like the only people that were really on were adults or like older teenagers with,
Or people with money or had some
Yeah.
kind of internet. Because remember, this was before the smartphone became big.
yeah. So like we
So
were
not
all,
every like bozo could get online or any little brat, you know. But
Yeah.
whatever.
well, we were like the fucking guinea pigs, right? Like we're the first generation to really be thrown into that. But yet we're also the same generation that still like went outside and had those values of like the early 90s and before that of like, yeah, like take your ass outside, and if you fall off of a fucking, like, my God, if you fall off of the back of the car, get your ass up, you're fine. Like literally,
Right.
like fucking,
Put some, was
Yeah.
it peroxide? It'd be good.
yeah, like fucking suicide diving out of a car going 60 miles an hour. Oh, just give him a Band-Aid, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, these kids now, like, I stubbed my fucking toe, I need to go to the ER.
I need therapy too.
Yeah, they're fucking soft, bro. But I mean, it's different times, different generations. But yeah,
That was their different way of doing it. So, like you said, all those guys, old style, they wanted in. I even think Candy, maybe, I don't know, but it would have things probably would have changed differently. You know, they were in, but as
yeah,
the way
like who
it's
knows,
put,
right? But yeah,
whatever. It doesn't. For the way that it went, it was probably best to just to end like that. And then I know that you guys like made TKO, I guess.
I was in it for
shortly
like a
after.
day.
Yeah, and I wasn't really interested. I kind of just felt like it was
Oh,
time to do something a little different, I guess. Just do my
Yeah.
own thing for a bit because, you know, you invested all that time to play with all these guys, the clanmates or whatever, and do all this clan war shit. And when it ends, just like, I need a breather just to be alone and do my own thing. I don't give a shit about anything else for a while.
Yeah,
And
it
I
was,
never joined.
yeah,
It
So
didn't really
it's-
last long. They tried, but
it was Sin 2.0.
sort of because it had anger, it had some younger people in there. It was basically what it should have been, except with instead of new players, it should have been with established players in terms of lax recruitment. But he tried. Anger was it? What's his name? Tina. He tried.
It was Anger and Chad Envy, I think, and then they collapsed. TKO collapsed, and that's when an Envy made Evolution.
Yeah, and they
So-
had Shadow, I think, on there, and
Yeah, they had other. I mean, but at that point, like the clan scene was fading out because the IDL was advancing,
yeah.
and so we're gonna kind of close this chapter here on Sin, but I do want to say this because I think anybody who remembers those times, I don't think the point we're making here is you're not trying to demonize Wrath, and I would say too, like, we shouldn't be demonized either. I think this was a case where like both people were right, and that's why the clan just needed to end. Wrath was going through a lot of stuff at the time, and I'm not going to get into it, but like I talked to him a lot, and he was really going through some stuff, which is why he was always back and forth. But at the same time, like, we had a right to be like, okay, dude, but like give the clan to somebody so we can run this ship, and he wouldn't. but he also like needed to take time away. He needed to get away. So both of us were really kind of right. I think we could have both handled it better. But at the end of the day, the clan scene was dying anyway. And I think it was the best for all of us. I think it worked out great. I mean, you went on to do a lot of great things. I went on to do a lot of great things. Mantis went on to do a lot of great things.
No, you said that the clan scene died. The funny thing is, though, in the latter end of the 2000s, a lot of the Euro scene really picked up.
Yeah, I know.
I remember my brother was really involved with that.
But the NA scene was dead because of IDL.
Yeah, the NA scene was like pretty much downhill. It was nothing like it was in 03 and 04 and 05. It was pretty much a shell of its former self. But in terms of Z-Damon, the European scene picked up a bit with a lot of their leagues and stuff, and then everything was going pretty good until, X-Snake destroyed the server, and that's another story for another fucking time.
What happened with that? I always hear people talk about that. What happened?
So I had your buddy FSN.
Yeah.
He PM'd me one time on Xandronum RC because we were talking about it on one of the A3 channels or some shit, and he wanted to clear up the air. So basically, what was it? I think it was Stealth. Was it Stealth that was kind of running all the European stuff? I don't know. Somebody fucking tell me or say in the comments. But what had happened was it was X-Snake's server, but whoever was doing like the European league, I guess it was Stealth. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I can't remember. We'll just say unknown European guy that was running everything. He was using the server more for than just like their games and game servers. He was using it for a lot of personal stuff, and he didn't tell him, and he didn't take kindly of him. He gave him access to these servers. These were X-Snake servers that he paid for or whatever it provided. And he was using them for other means than just like hosting Z-Damon servers. I know that he made a post on it. I guess you can search, the Z-Damon forums. He was working on like a Linux client for Z-Damon and some other shit. He was doing a lot of stuff. And I guess, remember from the conversation, X-Nate didn't take too kindly of him, like being all sneaky on his stuff. So he just wiped everything because he felt like it was his right, I guess. I mean, you probably talked to FSN if you really wanted to know the whole story. Because remember, he's French, so he's trying to explain it to me in broken English. Because English is not his first language. So he's trying to, explain the case as best as he can. So there might be, details lost. But X-Snake deleted it. That's not up for debate. He removed it, and he removed all the European League, the history and all the demos and everything. Wow. It pretty much just nullified everything that they did in the latter half of the 2000s. So it's pretty much like it's all gone, So everybody's like, it literally killed everything because everybody spent all those hours, all those times, everything. It was just gone, just like that. Yeah. And once that happens, nobody gives a shit after that. It was never the same because they were actually doing good. They were mirroring what the NA used to be in the mid 2000s in terms of like clan activity and the leagues and all that shit. So when all that went bye, it sold it the activity, and it never was the same. So that's pretty much when the last bastion, I guess, of Z-Damon and clan activity went gone. That was like the turning point. Because I mean, just think of it now. Just think of like if the WL just lost everything. I mean, I know, granted, it's 2020, we all got backups, but back then that was the backup. So, WDL, ZCO, whatever the hell you got going on, all the history and everything gone just like that. Nobody's going to want to care about it. It's like, whatever, that's when you realize, oh shit, I wasted all my time because I don't have anything to show for it. So that was when the Euro scene kind of died.
I don't think that's true.
What?
Well, no. I don't have anything to show for it. Like,
I guess so, but I think it kills a lot of momentum.
Sure.
When you got everything recorded and everything
there. I don't mean that way. I mean like personally. Like,
I guess it's personal, but everybody's kind of different. But for the most part, when your league is gone, it's like, okay, whatever.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. That killed for sure. Yeah.
That killed momentum, and nobody cared after that point. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Because I knew about some of the stuff, but I
wasn't around there. I didn't take part in European stuff. I was actually gone at that time in 09 and for a little bit of 010. I mean 2010.
I mean, like, you could say 010 and that's not wrong.
Sounds retarded. It's like 20.
Yeah. Oh, you're canceled. You can't say that, dude.
Who cares?
But Dude, no, man. Like, we're banning you from Twitter. You're done.
I don't even have a Twitter. Well, I do. I have Capitals, but I don't remember the password, so who knows?
I don't even know how to use it.
Anyway, going back to the what were you asking about the pulse sin and all that stuff?
Yeah, so like when Sin ended, both you and I still because we were still working on at that time it was going to be Sin's Deathmatch WAD that we were going to put together and put out because I was the only one that you could get to like actually put together a cohesive sector. I mean, it took a while, but
Well, Arrogance was able to, but
his maps were shit though, weren't they?
they weren't too great. They looked great. They just didn't play too great.
Yeah, I was going to say like they were detailed really well, but they just were big squares and circles.
The clan had no interest in it. They liked the idea, but they weren't going to do anything.
Right.
And it was just a learning process of just mapping, scrapping. And when Sin died, I just was like, all right, I brought the project because I spent all that dang time trying to learn how to map or whatever. So I was just going to throw it all away. And during AC, when we did it, because what had happened was did TKO die? And I just kind of scrapped my brother and my cousin and you and a few others. And yeah, that was one of the things I was working on while we were playing, like Window Breaker and whoever the hell wanted to play as UD. I heard that one time we played UD. It was like Zen, Nod, and some other guy, and it was like ZD07. We whooped their ass, and it was because Zen was so mad about something, and I was like, hey guys, sorry about this. We'll play another time. Whatever, But Zen was going ballistic, and we were running like my brother and my fucking cousin, who were new, or my cousin was at least, and it was just funny. I think it was a Blair. Yeah, it was Blair, Zen, and Nautilus, and they lost that. It was like the first map. We didn't even get to play a full like scrim or anything. Like Zen blew up, so that put it into it. That was probably one of the funniest moments, other than beating a Widowmaker.
Window Breaker?
Yeah, Window Breaker.
Do you remember one of our other members of AC? Astro Clan?
There was a lot. I remember X-Ray came on our he joined the clan, then
Jake.
Because we had like this beef with
my god, yeah. Go on about that. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, we had X-Ray for like a day or something, and then when Vampy found out, because this was when he was like a kid, like 14 or something, and when Vampy found out, he told him, "Hey, it's either me or them." So he left our clan to be on the good graces of Vampy. He was like, "You're gonna do that for real?" It's like whatever, Vampy was just a little bitch. So what do you expect? I think we had Godlike. Was it God? Do we have Godlike?
No. It wasn't Godlike. It was Icy Killer.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was Icy Killer. But we had a lot of random people. Like, there was that Aphelion guy. I don't remember who the hell he was. He was, like, super new and not really good, but he had the...
Didn't we have Mystifer?
Probably. God.
I don't remember. I just remember...
Unfortunately, we followed the Sin formula of changing your name, so I can't remember everybody.
Yeah, Supernova was mine.
T-Nut's Anger in there for a while, but yeah, the Vampy saga was kind of stupid because he didn't like us because we shit talked him and he was a shit player. All he did was play on Judas for like, he played on DUI servers with like 10 ping on Judas and wouldn't play anywhere else and thought he was the shit. And I remember one time you were dueling him and everybody else joined because we wanted to watch, your clanmate duel this, Vampy or some shit. He banned us all. He's like, nah, we're not doing this. And he banned everybody except you. Fucking piece of shit.
Well, I remember specifically where we really had, because I used to be friends with Vampy.
Yeah, he used to be really cool. Then he became like a really like fucking bitch boy for some reason.
Well, because I was like really close with Niv, and obviously those two were brother-in-laws at one point.
They were running because Thunder had passed away.
Yeah, and
that was his sister, and that was Niv's fiance.
And I was very rest Niv's soul, by the way, but. I remember what really set it off between us is you were aliasing under the name Rest in Peace. Actually, no, RIP, because that's what Rest in Peace stood for.
_RIP _
and you actually beat him in Judas.
Yeah, I remember because he went crying to Chain Dude or something.
No, me. He went crying to me because it was on the DUI server. And he said, "Hey, man." Right. He said, "Hey, man, your friend cheats." and I'm just like, no, he doesn't. Like, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you? And yeah, like he accused you of cheating, and I was just like, And he like gave me that same like bullshit scenario of, you know, it's me or him. And I was like, fuck you, it's him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at that point, like, you were probably my closest friend. And, like, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
And
dude.
the funny thing is that Judas was historically never my greatest map. It wasn't until I didn't actually get good in Judas until I stopped giving a shit about duels. And like, and by then it was like 2013 or 14 when I got good at Judas, when I didn't care about duels. But back in the day, that was like a map I wasn't good at. So the fact that he thought I cheated was just showed how bad he fucking was. There were way better, more talented players than me, and there still are on Judas. You know,
Oh, yeah.
It was never my strong map, so I didn't understand why he thought I was cheating. And I remember he told Chain Dude, because I think he talked to Chain about it, because I remember Chain told me, he was like, yeah, something's not right about this guy. He always knew where I was. I'm like, come on, it's a fucking square. You know where the spawns are. How the fuck you not know where somebody
in Judas, you always know where the other guy. It's never a question of where that guy is.
And if you can't see him 90% of the time, he's by the plasma, you know?
Yeah.
We're about to drop down to the BFG. So it's not like it's map 01 or some giant fucking dual map where you lose track of somebody.
Right.
It's a damn square.
Yeah.
You know where everybody spawns. Like, how would you not know where they are unless you're terrible? And obviously he was terrible.
Yeah, he was bad.
That's why that was Catalyst. But another thing that happened was he kicked me from their DUI CTF server because he thought I was speed hacking. It was just SR50, and I was never historically good at like running with SR50 because I always slam into the fucking walls every time.
Oh yeah, you had 2 left feet.
Yeah, like I would always slam at that time. I didn't get better until years later, but at that time I was just learning how to like apply it. And it was like map away in a pub, and he thought I speed hacked or some shit. And I remember I had the screenshot. He was like, you're not getting unbanned, so you explain what the fuck that movement was. And I'm just like, fucking boomer.
Yeah. Well, he was our age. Like,
well, he sure didn't act like it.
Oh, no, but he had that DUI mentality. They thought anybody that was better than them cheated. Like, imagine being that, like,
insecure.
Well, I was going to say fragile, but insecure is good too. You know, like that was terrible. But yeah, so that was funny. So that was like the AC time. And that WOD, by the way, to go back to what I was talking about, that eventually went on to be the Eon Deathmatch WOD.
Yeah, because that's when we got better and we just cut maps and stuff.
I remember going through that process of cutting.
Making maps, cut maps, making maps, cut maps. So we had like 16, got down to like 10, got down to 5, 3. It was just a freaking process.
Yeah, man. I am thinking of the first map I ever gave to you where I actually did something, and I completed it by giving you upside down stairs. So,
I remember that. Yeah, that was pretty bad. You couldn't follow directions.
Yeah. So
I told you, I was like, just do it like this. You did like, I don't know what the fuck you did because I couldn't even replicate it. So whatever accident you did was like beautiful.
Yeah. Well, like when I look back at that time, thinking about just the mapping in general, I know that we were using WOD Author, if I remember correctly, but I had all these different people like trying to get me to use Deep Sea. I don't think Doom Builder was around just yet, or if it was, like not a lot of people were using it. But like, dude, that shit was so easy, like in hindsight, compared to like what people can do now. Like we were working with a Doom 2 format that like the actions took care of themselves. The actions were self-descriptive and would take care of themselves. So like if you had a sector that wanted to rise or fall in Doom 2 format, it would either be like S1, so like switch or repeatable. I don't remember. I haven't mapped in Doom 2 format in a long time. But like when you compare that old format of Doom 2 to what people are doing now, like Doom and Hexen even, and then UDMF and some of the stuff that happens now, like it's fucking crazy to think about how far we've come with everything in mapping and everything that we've done. Basically, Eon went on to be that, so it went on to be Eon, that deathmatch that we were working on. Like I was saying, with the simplicity of like Doom 2 format, like going and looking at Eon, and then you look at Prog Duel, like night and fucking day.
Well, you also got to understand it was also using Watt Author too.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I'd
I
said
mean,
that
like you
too. Yeah,
said, it's sector based, so you create with you make a sector with whatever many sides, and you kind of just morph it into whatever. When you use Doom Builder, that's more of you start with a line as if you were drawing on paper. You know, you draw
Yeah.
your line, you draw your next line. So naturally, with different styles of creation, you kind of have a different end result. So that's
so
part of it, I guess, but it's also just part of learning, I suppose, and also the part that it's just not stock Doom 2.
we've
I
come
mean,
a
there's
lot.
nothing wrong with vanilla if if you enjoy mapping that, sure. But for me,
Yeah,
I always felt like the whole point was just to progress and challenge yourself. So I learned some of the boom stuff,
progressive.
and I learned some of the hex and stuff. Then eventually I learned UDMF stuff. So I know the thing is with a lot of the single player and multiplayer, they just don't really care about all that new stuff. To them, it's whatever they remember Doom being when they were like 4 or 5 or whatever the fuck it was. But I don't have those such memories, so I don't have any problem trying to learn ACS, learn Decorate or whatever the hell.
Right.
Uh, learning stuff that's just not EXE or Chocolate Doom, like whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of no. I mean, you laugh, but
Yeah, I know.
a lot of single players, they don't want to touch anything that's not Boom.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of the people that Doom who like don't touch anything, so there's like Boom that's not advanced. Like they don't want to touch that dinosaur shit. So that's just like another something we can bring up later. But yeah, the WAD was it was just a progression. It was just a growth. It grew along with us.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
after AC, I think what I can't remember why we quit. I think we just kind of lost interest. I know that I stopped caring.
Oh, I could tell you exactly why.
What happened?
I had my first son.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Yeah, you
disappeared
were
for a
around.
year.
I
Yeah, I
remember.
disappeared for a year. And that was it. You know what I mean? Like, that was it. Like,
I had started working on my first degree.
yeah.
So, like Doom at that time, didn't really care.
And
So I left. We disbanded. I remember you did your own thing. I did my own thing. I didn't really touch it. If I did touch it, it was just something stupid like playing Brit 10, Brit 11, or Exec or something like that. But I was way out of touch of what was going on in the port and IDL and all that stuff. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't have any interest because it seemed like a bunch of elitist pricks, and it had a lot of people that I had bad run-ins with, so I didn't want anything to do with them.
yeah.
And eventually, I just was like floating away in a different wavelength, away from everything.
I think that
And I
happens
was
to a
going
lot.
fine, and then I was going fine because then I started working a lot and while going to school, and then you dragged me back to this bullshit for some fucking reason, and I said, "Yeah,
Okay, hold on a sec. No. I'm gonna give you context on that too, because that's not fair. So I was gone from basically 2008. I was just gone. 2008, I was gone. I came back towards the tail end of 2009. LB actually dragged me back, and they got Mike and LB dragged me back to get me to play in the IDL. So I practiced a bunch. I was still out of shape when I first went into the IDL, and I was drafted by Goatface, which was a fucking nightmare. And I ended up getting traded to EBL because at that time my wife was pregnant with our second son, and I really honestly did believe like I'm just going to play the season out and I'm just going to be done with Doom. Of course, we all know it doesn't work that way. Once Doom's in your blood, it like really never leaves. And I got traded to EBL because I told him I wanted to be on a competitive team for my last last hurrah, whatnot. And it was me, it was White Boy, and it was Zanero. Yeah. And we ran through everybody. And I don't remember how, but you came back into contact with me during that time, and I was telling you about it. And you watched the Master Bowl where we got fucking demolished by BSK. And I think it was me. Obviously, it was me, White Boy Zen, but it was Stal, Genova, and it was Saber. And at that point, like, I was number one. I was drafted number 2 overall, which I shouldn't have been because I was still ridiculously out of shape and not good at CTF yet. But by that point, by the end of that season, I was like pretty good. But at that point, nobody knew how fucking good of a defender Stal was. That was like Stal's. Like, I know everybody looks at that team and says Genova. No, fuck that. Stal was the biggest problem for us. It was not Genova. We could not fucking get by Stal. And that's why we got. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is we got fucking rocked. And you said something to the effect of, well, that looked like it would be fun to play in. And you started playing around in a bunch of Prive games. And then you just, I don't know, you came around and Ralph convinced me to be a captain at EBL, which actually kind of segues us into our next point, is your time in the IDL. And your first team was with me on EBL, Winter 2011. Go ahead and tell me what you think of when I talk about that team.
I think we would have done better if we didn't have Higgs and if you didn't waste the pick on Metalhead. That's pretty much sums it up. Because we had the ethic of always practicing every freaking day at like midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. We had the dedication to get better and improve ourselves. We just didn't have a runner that was a Doom player, first of all, because Higgs was a Quake player.
Yeah,
but his skill set from Quake didn't apply to Doom. Like, he still struggled with I guess because when you think about it, Quake is obviously a different fucking game than Doom. It's more complex. It's more, challenging because you got to worry about the timings of every damn thing. There's no such thing as weapon stay. You got to keep on top of the items and armor. And if you fall behind, you'll get fucked. And if you manage to get the lead, you got to maintain the lead. It's all that extra shit that you don't have to worry about in Doom, because obviously in Doom, weapons stay. There's no item respawn. It's just a lot less. It's a lot less to think about. So for some reason, I guess he was just overthinking Doom when he played in CTF, because it's not hard. You just run and get the flag. Sneak by people, take your time, get a shot, but he just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was just a struggle. I mean, we could have gotten anybody else who was used to Doom. Things may have played out differently, but it is what it is. But you wasted a pick on Metalhead, who wasn't even in our team after like the second or third week. I don't know why you picked her.
Hold on.
There was a lot of other players.
I'm going to respond to that. Keep on going.
But, it was fun. I mean, I had no problem with Higgs. He was a nice guy. I mean, when he wasn't high. He was fucking yelling at his cat and shit.
Yeah, dude. Fuck off, cat.
But he never really appeared after that season.
No.
I mean, I guess he just didn't really care for Doom. I mean,
he got drafted by another team, but he didn't play. They didn't start him at all.
I mean, he was a nice guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him personally. He was cool to hang with. He talked with us and stuff like that, but he just wasn't up to snuff. He was a player that should have been like the fourth, not the third. But we didn't have a choice. And that's just how it plays out, and it is what it is. There's no, you play with whatever you have and you make it or you don't. That's all there is at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to say about Metalhead was, so at that time she was a good fragger, so I thought she would be our defender. And I thought you and I, either it would be me or you, I wasn't sure we're going to run. And then like she just sucked, like straight up. We would practice with her and she'd be like, well, I'm not a defender. Okay. Well, then mid. Well, I'm not a mid. Oh, okay. Well, then run. Well, I'm not a runner. Okay, I can't do any of this. I'm leaving. And she like bailed on us before we even played a game. And it was like a couple of days before our first game. And that's when Higgs came on. And again, like you already said it. I mean, to be honest with you, his first commitment was never Doom. We could barely ever get him to practice as it was. You and I practiced a ton. And Rudy would step in as our fourth. But
you mean Roscoe?
Yeah, Roscoe. And Higgs never showed up like half the time for practice. He showed up for games. But I mean, at that time, like
he was like high half the time.
Yeah. But at that time, like Quake Live was fucking booming, and that was his first like commitment above all else, and he was a top player in that. So I get it. So I'm not mad at him.
Did Quake Live drop in 2011? I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was around then. It dropped in 2010, actually.
Let me check the internet. Yeah, it was 2010. So yeah, he was already doing it. Yeah, by 2011.
I came back to Doom because like what really got me back into like FPS gaming and stuff like that. While I was practicing Doom in 2010, when I was coming back and really getting into shape again before the idea, I was playing Quake Live too. I wasn't any good at it, but yeah. So with the IDL stuff, I mean, obviously we came really close. I think if we would have beaten the Chargers, I think we would have won the Master Bowl even with Higgs, because like you and I had such good fucking chemistry, like, because we practiced so much together, and we both improved a lot that season. But I kind of felt like after that season, I didn't draft you, and that was a huge mistake, because I thought I could get you a Mantis, And for whatever reason, I drafted Mantis first, and then that ended up being a nightmare. And then you went on, and we kind of after that, like we grew apart. Like we didn't talk as much anymore. You were kind of going on to your other things. So like you were on the IDL. I remember we talked a little bit when you were the captain of the Ricochet Rockets because we were like, we were convinced we were going to play each other in the finals, but then, Hero like DDoSed himself to get blown out by me in the finals, I guess. But
don't even remind me of that shit. That makes me so mad. Well, first of all, what made me upset, well, not really upset, but in hindsight, it's like, why did you draft Metal? I never really even liked Metal to begin with because of the fact of how Raider was always just handing out admins and shit to females. You can probably talk to Bones more about, the Raider shit. But you always came off to me as just like an unpleasant person to play with, I guess.
Metal?
She wasn't really... Just her personality, I just didn't mesh with it. I sucked it up because, for IDL or whatever, you're stuck with whoever, so just make it work, try to make it work, do whatever, like you would a job, I guess. I tried it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I was just like, why Metal, I understand you say you wanted a defender, but
I can give you some context into that. It was, keep in mind, in 2008, I'd met her at a LAN.
Yeah, I remember LAN.
She was really cool. We got along really well. When I took third place in the ZDDL in 2010, I gave her my prize money because I was just like, I don't really need this. And she said she did. So I gave her so I thought, and we were like, cool, like we got along really well. So I thought, okay, I know you weren't crazy about her, but I was like, we'll just make it work. And
yeah, it was crazy. Like to me, she always felt like.
But yeah, then she just fucking bailed, and it was just like
she was always excuse maker to me in terms of playing the actual game. And
yeah.
No, I didn't really think she was anything great, to be honest.
But she could aim.
I just felt like she just had some kind of status just because she was given ops or admin, whatever, by Raider. Yeah. That's another story. But when you said you drafted Mantis, I actually was annoyed that you fucking drafted Mantis because there's no dimension where Mantis is a better player than me.
You're right.
Even though he's my buddy, he was my buddy at that time and stuff. Like he wasn't passionate and he wasn't driven to actually be competitive. Like it was just pretend competitive, but he was never really a good team player. We always had kind of issues of him trying to, hey, join us and help this and that, but he always wanted to do his own thing. So I never really thought that after I got better in Sin, I never really thought that Mantis was ever better than me in any way, shape, or form. So when you drafted him, I was like, why would you draft him over me? Because I was still available. And then lo and behold, I guess I kind of had a breakout season with us in 2011, with Higgs and all. So Ralph snatched me up because you don't get into the playoffs with like two versus three. Because remember, there was that one time where Higgs crashed out of the server against No Star's team, and it was like map 31, and we held them off for like over a minute.
Yeah,
like a minute and a half. It was 3 versus 2, and they could not score on us.
And he bitched the rest of the game, by the way.
Yeah, I think I kind of blacked that out of my mind. But going back to the Mantis thing, like I was kind of surprised. I was expecting, hey, we'll try again, and we'll just get somebody who's actually a doomer, and we probably will go a little bit further. I'm not saying we'll win the Master Bowl. We'll maybe get close to getting there, but when you drafted him, I guess you had kind of a bad gamble. It is what it is. Not everybody gets what they want in the draft. But
I was
when you drafted apart, I mean, I guess it's because most of the time I was spending with like Ralph and other players.
Team, yeah.
Like I never interacted with UD because remember they got banned.
Yeah.
They got fucking banned, because of the whatever.mp3 was like the catalyst for them getting exiled and people quitting and stuff for whatever reason. And they weren't ever around other than Bones, and a few others. But, I'm interacting with all these other people, and I guess that's probably why. Because remember, I didn't like a lot of the IDL players because of the way, they acted, during the clan scrims and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I came back to the scene in like 2011, everybody had kind of changed. So it was a bit, kind of an eye-opening experience, I guess.
Right.
Everybody kind of matured. So it wasn't so bad. A lot of the people I didn't like before, I grew to tolerate. Like, I hated White Boy and all them, a lot of the DX people, and they weren't so bad. I'm not saying they're like my best friend or anything, but if we have to like be on a team together, so be it. I'm not gonna like, it's not torture.
Yeah.
But had Mantis and your other people, was it Mobius and somebody else? You just didn't have too much success because Mantis he was never a team player. Like,
no, not at all.
even in Sin, it was just
All about
you're
him.
going to be the lone wolf, and if you aren't a team player in any team game, you're not going to be successful. And as for joining Ralph and them, Ralph has never did anything to make anything against me. I know a lot of people hate Ralph for whatever reason. They say he does this or that, but he's never done anything to me that malicious or anything. He's been pretty honest to me and upfront with me, so I don't have anything bad to say about Ralph. But Zen was another fucking story. But there was that one fucking time where Ralph was gone for like 2 weeks or maybe a week, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna let Zen, in charge." That was fucking terrible. This was the reason why I captained that next season, because Zen was awful to be as a captain. I don't know what it was, but we argued after we lost the practice badly. Like, we went back and forth, and I don't remember who our third was. I don't know if it was Oath or Tony or something, but it's like when we lost the practice, we went back and forth just at each other's throats. It was just terrible. Like those I think it was a week, I think it was 2 weeks. Ralph went on business or some shit, and Zen was the captain, and that was awful. Like, that was that time with him being the captain is the reason why I captained that next season after that. I couldn't stand him. Like, he was fucking going off the edge, like just blowing up. I'm like, why the fuck are you going off the edge and blaming me for bullshit? You're not even a good captain. So we had that clash, and it kind of affected me like after that point. But for that suck season, I think the biggest problem we had when Ralph came back, everything was fine. We practiced, we did what we did. I got along for most of the UD and Bones and all of them and Blair. I joined them, after that season or during, I can't remember. But our biggest problem with that season was the fact that for some reason we didn't use voice chat, and Ralph lost a tie on map 1. And that's a prophecy. Every time that Ralph plays a tie on map 1, he has a 99% chance to lose.
Yeah.
I don't know why we did it. Like, and he admitted it to me. He's like, I take the fall for it. I was the captain, and I said we didn't need voice chat, and we didn't use voice chat, and we got, annihilated in two games. And I think even the worst part was that we had to run a strategy that we didn't even practice for. So that season, it was good. I think we only lost one map, one round. And that was only because I didn't play because I had to work that evening. But that was the season why I said, okay, next time I'm just going to do it myself, because I know a lot of people don't like to cap. They don't like to make the decisions, or they don't want to put in the work that it takes to be a captain of, being the leader or whatever. But after that season, I felt like, I can do better than this. I can not have a team that hates each other, or 2 members that can't get along, or, we're not going to make a fatal mistake of not using voice chat in the playoff game. Who the fuck's going to do that nowadays, right?
Right.
Everybody uses voice chat. So going back to what you're talking about, growing apart, it was just interacting with different people.
Yeah.
I didn't interact with Ralph as a Sin member back in the day when I was KFC as a newbie, joined this random clan. There's a lot of newbie clans back in the day when I joined. So you kind of just went your own way with, interacting with people, because I know you played like with White Boy and all them on Skull Tag and stuff like that. And I just interacted with people I didn't interact. So that's all that kind of really was. So it just how things played out, honestly.
Yeah. So, like, looking back at that time, like, I get it. And like I said, like, Mantis was a huge mistake. I shouldn't have drafted him. The sad thing is it kind of worked out for me because of that. I will say, like, I had Mobius on my team. I had Ed on my team. I ended up trading Mantis. But it worked out for me because I got the second pick because of that season wasn't very good. I think I was like 2-6-1 or something like that. But then I was able to get Stal and Bloodstrike and Killforce the next season, and we fucking wiped the floor with everybody. But, like, yeah, I get it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I kind of want to get like your take on the rest of IDL for you going post Z-Damon and onward, because remember we transitioned to Otomex after the 2012 winter season. The 2012 summer season was on Otomex, and I had a captain obligation, because back then the thing was if you were a captain, you were supposed to give them 2 seasons. So I gave them the first season with you, then Mobius, and then I re-upped for another 2 seasons with my first team with Stalin and Bloodstrike, and then the next team was Shackle and Collision. And I kind of felt like that team could have been really good on Z-Damon, but when they got into Otomex and rockets literally just started shooting to the sky, like they were done. They just refused to play. They would not play. And at that point, I was just like getting into League, and I was growing away from Doom. So even though I was like around that season, I don't know what fucking happened in Doom. So from then to like that short stint that I had in 2015 when the IDL was on Zandronum, I was gone from Doom. So talk to me like what was like then on Otomex, and then leading up to Zandronum IDL, where you and I kind of had a little falling out, or maybe it wasn't that, but go on about that.
Okay, so we can back up to the season I captained. So it was obviously the last season we were going to do on Z-Damon, because I can't remember the details, because at that time I was more just a player. I didn't care about the drama and the community stuff going on. But if I recall, 109 was supposed to drop soon, and Z-Damon was being what is that word? They're being more selective in who they were giving their server binaries to. So that last season in 2012 in the winter, there was some uncertainty of what we were going to do, because for some reason they felt that if we couldn't get the 109 binaries for the server, we couldn't have it on Z-Damon anymore, which didn't make any sense, because nowadays people like J-Kiss and whoever his buddies are, they'll run like private servers to play on 108. But going back after I captained and, we lost to the team, whoever our hero was on, because he was so fucking laggy. Mass VC and Gilgamesh could not kill him. They could not hit him. And we had to run like something we didn't practice. So I remember it was frustrating, because like, all right, you guys, you run mid, I'll defend. And I was never a defender. Like I can't stand still and just point and click. I have to be in motion. But I was like the last stand against this guy who was so fucking laggy. So I really enjoyed it in the Master Bowl when he couldn't even fucking connect, and you guys just slaughtered that team, to be honest. But at the same time, I was sad because it wasn't us in the Master Bowl.
Yeah.
But, whatever. It is what it is. Ain't no big deal. But after that season, moving forward, y'all won the Master Bowl. Everybody was like, all right, this is the last season. What do we do from here? They pitched the Otomex idea, and some people just weren't down with it. I know a lot of players like White Boy, No Star, go back in time and look at the forums or whatever. They didn't join the Otomex. They didn't hop on board on the Otomex season. I think even Ralph wasn't even available. I can't recall. I think he gave everything to Bones. Excuse me. So Bones was like the commissioner, and a lot of people didn't even show up for that season. And I could be wrong, but I want to say that Ralph was not the commissioner going into IDO Otomex.
He wasn't. It was Bones. Bones was the commissioner for the other season too on Z-Damon.
Yeah. So a lot of players didn't go, and a lot of players were skeptical. So when we finally did it, it wasn't mature enough for the league. There's no beating around the bush. It just wasn't very pleasant. It was not a pleasant experience for anybody. And I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand why it happened that way. Everything was on Z-Damon for so long. If I had a pet project or I was involved in something like Otomex, that's a prime opportunity to come and take the player base. Problem is not the whole player base fault.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like a lot of people like No Star and whoever, there's a lot of players that didn't go. They just dropped off. They were done after that. Like Y-Boy, remember he said, nah, I ain't playing that shit. Quite a bit said that. But the few that did, it's like, all right, we'll give this a try. ZDM, because remember, part of the problem was that Kilgore and Cole didn't like the IDL. There used to be a once upon a time where they didn't care that IDL would, advertise, oh, we got a new season signups or whatever. They didn't care, but then at the end of it, they would ban you if you mentioned the IDL. They didn't like you talking about the IDL in their IRC. They were the fucking East German, East European bullshit where if you said something they didn't like, you'd be silenced or you can't talk about this in our IRC. Remember, a lot of there was a handful of people that didn't even go on ZDM and IRC because recall ZDM and IRC disabled all clients except their shit. So you couldn't even use like different clients to connect to their network because they're that so fucking controlling. Yeah. I remember something like Silvertier. You remember Silvertier?
Yeah.
It was like, fuck them. I don't give a shit about their IRC. I'm not using their shitty client. I remember he said he was like, fuck that. I ain't doing that shit. And there are a lot of other people who were like that. That was their whole controlling mentality of, use our client, use our network, or, they wanted their whole totalitarian government bullshit that they did. And that was part of the reason why the IDO people, Total Trash and No Star and all of them, they didn't get the server binaries or for whatever reason. I remember before that, they had it out with Kilgore because he wasn't giving them anything. Like, he wasn't really coding enough of the requests. And I think part of it probably was the fact that they weren't in control of the IDO. It was player driven. It wasn't ZDMN driven. And I remember it was funny because Kilgore and Ladner were going back and forth at it on the forums about something. I don't remember what the fuck it was. But Ladner changed his password, and ZDMN in their typical Nazi administration made it to where you couldn't. They needed, server form administration for registration, for passwords. And I remember Kilgore said something like, that Ladna fool, he made it easier for me. I ain't going to approve his password change. And Ladna had his account deactivated.
Wow.
It's just like that. You can even ask him. He'd probably tell you. I remember reading that shit. So, you have an administration that doesn't want you around. So I can understand why they wanted to jump ship to Ultimix, but a lot of the players didn't want to do it. And a lot didn't return after that 2012 winter season. Mm-hmm. So when we had it, we're on a new port, obviously, and we're trying to make the best of the situation. Because for some reason, looking back, I see no reason why we couldn't have ran private servers. There were already private servers. We could have ran a private server with 1.08. I don't see why, it would have been any reason why not to. But it was an opportunity to jump ports and take control, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And it wasn't a very good experience.
No.
Your team fucking dished after the second week. It was so fucking buggy. There was people who were like, even to this day, they'll be like, oh no, it's perfectly fine. And there's people like, every time I fucking play it, it's terrible. Which is somebody like me. I remember the last time I played it in a league setting, I had distorted sound. But at that time, it just wasn't ready for a lot of the bullshit. Because you have to understand, even though you play tested with a small group, the real test is the league or a lot of play. And they didn't get a lot of play until the league was on there. And there was a lot of shortcomings that we saw. And a lot of people weren't happy. And a lot of people ditched. And a lot of people did not return for that Ultimix second season.
Right.
I know you didn't. Your team didn't. Because I remember you said that they said if they didn't like it, they weren't going to play. And y'all didn't play. The second season was pretty much more of the same. It wasn't fine-tuned. The problem was there was just too many nonsense bullshit happening. A lot of people weren't happy with the port. I think it became to the point where Bones was like, all right, we're going to take a time off. Because at that time, I was bored. I think I was on the board. Mm-hmm. And I remember Bones was kind of sad a little bit. I think a lot of people were sad that we didn't have, because everything had been season after season after season since 2006. And that was the first time where we didn't have a season in the winter, if I recall. And so we took a season off and we were doing, Dr. Sean came aboard and he started doing stuff. And, when we didn't have the IDL that one season, we were running tournaments and doing dual shit or whatever. I think I was messing around with trying to run some kind of point system of duels and whatever. Running, just running little shit just to bring activity because this is where we were. We weren't going to go back to ZDM people weren't open to going to Skull Tag at the time. So it's like, all right, well, we're stuck here, make the best of it kind of thing.
Right.
So we eventually did have the third season of IDO on Ultimax. Dr. Sean had been working on it. He'd been doing a lot of things, a lot of bug fixing, fixing a lot of stuff that we found. It was definitely, without a doubt, better than what we got there in 2012, but it still was not enough. And I'm sorry, was it 2012? Was it 2012? No, it was 2012.
It was 2012.
So, yeah, so that third season, we did a whole PR thing. Because, I'm on the board, so it's my job to get players to want to fucking sign up, right?
Right.
So, we talk. I was always talking to Sean during that last third season, like nearly daily about anything or whatever, what he was doing and what he wanted to do. So I saw it as my job to just bring players in, as long as anybody else, give them reassurance. Hey, this isn't the first season of IDO on Ultimax. We've made bug fixes. We've added this. We fixed that. You give it a chance, it'll be better. And we finally pulled in a lot of players that season, I think. And the first week was good. And it wasn't until later on that it turns out, if I recall from what was told to me, Alex Max was running the servers that season. He updated the binaries to beta,
Mm-hmm.
He was pulling the changes from what was it, subversion or whatever the fuck. So it was essentially a beta, so fixes and stuff. And after that first week is when we had problems, and I believe that's what caused a lot of the issues with the third season, because there was untested stuff going into the server binaries. So when we started playing, we started getting bugs, and it was like, oh boy, deja vu kind of began. And it was kind of rough because on one hand, we tell people, oh, it's going to be different this season, and it's pretty much more of the same. And then on the other hand, you have like Dr. Sean trying to fix everything, but then every time he gets online, he just sees like bitching and moaning and people shit talking like the stuff you do. I mean, you got to understand, if you're working on something, doesn't matter if it's a Doom port, doesn't matter if it's a portrait, doesn't matter whether a piece of music, whatever the hell it is. If you put in your time and energy into something and you just see shit talking on a daily, you're just like, fuck these people. Why the fuck do I waste my time, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So I understand he was not very pleased. Who the fuck wants to come online after a long days of work or whatever he does for a day, and then you see a bunch of IDL people bitching about stuff.
Yeah, all that shit.
And people, like me, I was putting her, between a rock and a hard place, because you want to make the players happy, but then you can't make them happy because the port isn't too great, and then they get mad at you because you're said, you're running this whole campaign, things are going to be different this time.
And
so that was part of the reason why I was so pissed off, like at Ultimax for so many years. Like I'm like, I put my name on the line and said all this shit, like, oh, it's going to be different this time, and then it was a complete disaster. Okay, I wouldn't say a complete disaster, but it wasn't ideal, and it wasn't. It was more or less more of the same, so it wasn't better in the sense. So, I mean, it was a painful season. It was just, I guess, if it's true, because remember, I was just the board member, I wasn't the commissioner, but it's what I was told is Alex Max updated the server because it had fixes or whatever reason he did. I don't think he did it intentional, because he's a software person. He's an IT person, so you're kind of used to just pulling in changes and updates to make things better. So I'm not trying to say that he sabotaged it. I know Alex Max. I've always gotten along with Alex Max, so I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, because he probably didn't even know. But that's what I was told. He pulled changes, and the changes weren't good because they weren't tested, and the season was pretty much painful after that. And after that, it's like, all right, we can't really do this. And Dr. Sean kind of just did his own thing. He disappeared for a little bit. I don't blame him. Who the fuck wants to come on to IRC and have the player base bitching all the time about every little fucking thing, I mean, it was so bad. Like, there were still random bugs. I remember one time Genova posted a picture of one barrel shooting fucking pellets and the other one empty, SSG. It was literally, the spread was one side of the barrel had pellets, the other side didn't. It's like, how can you be competitive on something like that.
Right.
So I can understand where the players were coming from.
So is that why
But
they
it's just
moved to? Is that why they moved to Zandronum? Like, what happened?
we just like I said, Sean just kind of lost interest. I guess I think he also found a job, a real job, so he was probably getting paid more, as opposed to working on Doom ports. Because I know he just kind of just drifted away from all this shit. It was really just the constant bitching of the audio players that just got him fed up with it.
Right.
You can only take so much. And on the flip side, you can only play so much if your shit don't work. So I mean, it's just a shit show. So when he disappeared, and we're like, all right, we gotta try something else. We can't go back to Z-Damon because fuck them, fuck East European Nazi regime Z-Damon. People don't like Otomex, so naturally the only option we have is Zandronum, Skulltack. It changes Zandronum. So I remember I was personally taking it upon myself to make tickets on their Zandronum tracker to get old jumping back and flags falling through the Maple 4 and a lot of compatibility shit and old RNG or whatever.
Right.
Like I made tickets, and I remember I was talking to Tor in PM because during the last season of IEL, I started playing a lot of Zandronum because they remember Carnival kind of just said, all right, this shit's over, y'all do your own shit. So that's when Skulltag became Zandronum, and he wasn't involved because he wanted to go make rack. So I started playing that more, because I wasn't playing Z-Demon because everybody was gone.
Right.
Players that were there that were for IDO were gone, and players that were on Ultimax kind of weren't really playing Z-Demon. So I just like, well, fuck it, might as well play Zandronum, Skulltag, or whatever the hell, and see what's up. Because we always, let's be honest, we're always elitist towards Skulltag. We always felt like they were inferior for whatever reason. We were the real competitive, we were the real where the skill was and all that shit, and they were just where the weirdos were inferior. So for me, I've always been like, I kind of experience whatever I experience. I make my own, opinion. So I don't just necessarily echo whatever until I experience it myself.
Right.
So I just tried it myself. And to be honest, that was our only real option at that time because, Sean disappeared. So, we're like, well, we can't really stay on Ultimax too much longer because people aren't happy. And I think the catalyst was due, to be honest.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Okay, so, obviously, if you're in a position of leadership, you kind of want to set the tone for everybody. So, if you're involved in a product, you can't really shit talk it and be negative toward it. So you kind of want to do your PR bullshit. So a lot of us held our tongue during that last season, and I forget what happened, but dude played a game. He was on a team, and I don't remember what bug happened or what happened, but he blew a fuse. He went on IRC, and this was the only time that entire season he just went off and said, fuck Ultimax, fuck this, it's a fucking buggy piece of shit, fuck that, And when you look at it as a player, you see like a co-commissioner just shitting on the port. I mean, that's bad for morale. So what do you expect? That's when I knew. I was like, all right, we're done here. Like IDO on Ultimax is kind of done here. When you got a leadership person just kind of doing that shit, that's the writing on the wall. So I kind of wasn't surprised that we moved to Skulltags and Zandronum after that. And so what I kind of did was just did a transition. Like I remember on the IDEO forums, I made a post saying, hey, change your settings to this and that, so it, remove colors and text and all that shit, change your own lag or whatever. And I made the tickets for, flags dropping through the floor or whatever, jumping to be the same, rocket jumping and all that. And that's when we kind of moved there from Ultimix onto Skulltag for the time being.
Yeah. So like that's pretty consistent with what I had heard. I knew that the IDL was being played on Ultimax, and I knew you had various players coming and going, but I didn't really know a whole lot outside of that. I mean, because the only lens I had at that point in time after the 2012 summer season, the first season on Otomex, was I joined R pretty much for the rest of my time until, I don't know, when I came back and Caboose kicked everybody out because we were all inactive. And I joined R because Stal was in R with Genova, and I started hanging out with them a lot, and we were playing League together a lot. So I didn't really know specifics, but they all told me, oh yeah, man, like Otomex is pretty much like dog shit right now. And like you said, like there's only so much that one coder can do, and you've got people up your ass about it constantly, and nobody's ever satisfied. And even to like Z-Damon, I can understand how they got like that. That doesn't excuse a lot of the things that they did, but yeah, like that's neither here nor there. The point is that I do know that during that time, it wasn't good on Otomex, and Otomex was coming along, and many of their developers pretty much kind of just said, yeah, more or less, look, you don't like having a buggy port, but this is playtesting. So there was also like a lot of distrust between the players and the administration on the IDL. And I know when they had come back from, what was it? I think it was 2015. I'm fairly certain it was 2015. Maybe it was 2014. I mean, honestly, it's a blur. But I knew that they came back on Zandronum. And I think I started playing in R scrims. And I was playing on Zandronum with Genova, Stal, Saber, because we were all in R. So that time on Zandronum, I had gotten a little familiar with it. But then you guys had come and moved the IDL to Zandronum, and I signed up for Zandronum, and I know you guys were going through like a big PR thing to try and push IDL like to Zandronum players. And I remember Bones, I had talked with him, and I had done like an interview with him on their little IDL radio or whatever, because it was like hatred's coming back, like, you know, and they billed it as like the prodigal son has returned, you know, like that sort of thing. And it was like, it was way overrated, and it was like way hyped. But this is kind of where like we had our falling out on the Zandronum season, because there were Zandronum at that point, like you said, kind of was the laughing child of the Doom ports. Everybody looked down upon them, but that's largely just because their history was just all over the place. Like, let's be honest. You know, they weren't sure if they were a competitive port or a Z-Doom port that like had new features, and there was always like this area of in between. And everybody that I've ever known that has done any coding has told me that their fucking netcode is held together by like spaghetti string, and like they don't know what to say other than it's just the worst thing I've ever seen. and I'm not trying to dog it, because it's come a long way. Zandronum it truly has come a long way. I mean, compared to what it was as Skulltag back in the day, yeah. But I remember like I had come back, and
well, I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
Not for a moment, but I've made patches for Zandronum, you know, many times, and I've added some things and fixed some stuff, but it's a bitch to work on. It's such a big project, and the part of the problem, as you said, is, you know, the foundation isn't too great. I don't know. I never met Carnival, never interacted with him, but from what I heard, he wasn't the best coder at the time, and that was the cause of a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And like you said, Z-Demon players were raw elitists. We thought anybody that played Skulltag was inferior, because our port was Doom, and you know, if you couldn't do or play CTF on Z-Demon, you were trash.
Right.
But you know, going back to what you said, IDO and Zandronum. So you had a return, I recall, and I know a lot of people will shit on that season, because remember, it was only one season. They'll shit on that one season, but it really wasn't that bad. You know, it was a lot better than Ultimax.
In hindsight, no, it wasn't that bad.
The biggest problem was the Master Bowl. I don't remember who the teams were. I think Style was on one of them. I don't remember. Fuck if I know. But the problem was that they just didn't want to play. Like they would hold up scheduling, and you're just like, okay, so at the time I'm still a board member. You go through all this trouble to appease the player base. It's like, oh, why you guys always got to use Ultimix? Why you got to use Edim? Why can't you use Skull Tag? We finally give these guys this player base, the IDL, and they're fucking obnoxious.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they didn't want to play it. Like I remember, I even threatened both teams. I said, I don't give a shit if I have to double DQ you, I will. You're gonna play this weekend, or that's it. I remember I made that threat, and I didn't give a shit if I had to do it. And lo and behold, they played that weekend or whatever the fuck it was. But that was the main holdup of that season. I mean, granted, you can probably make the argument, oh, okay, well, dealing with the Skull Tech community was a pain in the ass in itself. But the main problem with that season was just the end.
Right.
I don't know, for whatever reason, you can ask whoever was on that team. They just didn't want to schedule a reasonable time, and they would always just dodge each other. So that's when I was like, all right, enough is enough. I'll double DQ. I don't give a fuck. It don't mean shit to me. Y'all gonna play? Y'all both done. And then they played, and lo and behold, I think that was the season we paid them. And
Yeah,
I think
you
that
did.
was fucking funny because I remember, if I recall, I think it was Ralphus that made the comments like, man, look at these guys. They got to pay people to play their fucking league. And lo and behold, look at people getting paid to play Doom.
Yeah.
We're kind of ahead of the times, but it wasn't just him. It was a few others because that was the season we offered money. I think Dew and Bones offered some of the money to the winners and all that shit. And I don't know. It's just kind of tiring a little bit to deal with some of the people on the Skull Tag Zandronum community. They're a different breed. There's no denying that. And I think for the most part, we kind of did okay for our first season. I just think that perhaps it was probably for the best. The ideal just didn't return.
Right.
And I mean, it had a long run, the end of 2006 till
2015 or something. Yeah, something.
2014. I don't remember what the hell
Something
it was.
like that.
So, I don't know. It wasn't as bad as people make it out. They make it sound like it was the most painful thing, but at least we weren't crying about bugs. You know what I'm saying?
So,
whereas all makes we were crying about bugs, but on Zandronum, at least, the one thing we were complaining about is the fucking people didn't want to play their games, or they were doing dumb shit as spectators or whatever.
right.
I think in terms of if you want to have something competitive, I would rather take, obnoxious player base over bug-ridden port.
Yeah. Yeah. You want players, right? Like at the end of the day, you need players.
And we cater too. Like I mentioned, the tickets, we try to make all the people who play Zedeman feel like they're at home. I remember some Skulltag players were like, why are we gotta have flags drop on Apple 4? Go through bridge things, because that's what it was. Apple 4 or any bridge things, if you got killed, you have the flag dropped to the floor or whatever the fuck you're on. They didn't have that flag. We add that flag. Why does our rocket jumping feel different? Why does it have to be Z-Damons? Why is the jumping itself different? Why do we have no, they were all fucking crying about it, the native Skulltag players. But we have to do it, otherwise people weren't going to play it.
Yeah.
They were going to make they would cry and say, oh, well, it's not Doom because it doesn't act this way or whatever. So I was like, all right. We're going to eliminate that bullshit, make the tickets, be done with it. And I don't really think it was that bad, to be honest. They just held up the Masters Bowl. That was kind of the only thing I recall being painful.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why we didn't have a second season, but I think that was the last season of IDL you ever played, and it was the last season ever of IDL ever existence.
Yeah. I mean, they went on to do WDL and still doing it, but and they kind of co-opt those two things together now. So this is going to kind of bring me to I don't know, I guess our last or post-last-ish thing. This is where you and I had at least to me, it was a pretty nasty falling out, and I didn't talk to you for, a couple of years after that. And if anyone would have asked me about you, I was like, I don't give a fuck, fuck that guy. And it wasn't anything that you did. It was just, so that whole season on Zandronum, like I got drafted by Ty, and Saber got drafted, and we just fucking trolled Ty the whole time. Like we didn't really care. Like
Who doesn't know Ty?
yeah, like we just
Fun
didn't.
fact, fun fact, Watermelon was he was Turtles on Z-Name, and he would always shit talk and troll Ty. And Ty didn't know for like years until somebody told him. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know Watermelon was Turtles. Who the fuck was Turtles?"
Yeah. Like so we trolled. Yeah. Ty's a good dude. Everybody loves Ty, but shout out to Ty. But we were somehow in a position to get into the playoffs the last week of the season. We were playing map 28. And that's the map that we played on. I don't remember the name. It's Cab's map, but Zandronum at that time had a bug where if you played with a report rate over 500 hertz, was it, that your shot would sometimes just not register. And you could have fixed that by just lowering it to 500. And I was like, no, I shouldn't have to. Arr. And so that whole season, like I was just getting mad because I would like periodically have that happen in games where it just wouldn't fire. But nothing bad ever happened. Like there was no game that was lost because of it. But we played against Legion's team, and I only remember because it was Legion that was running away from me when this happened. And we went into round 3. It was 1-1. It was close. It was very close game in round 3. I'm defending. Legion gets a flag. He keeps running away from me. I go to shoot him, and the gun doesn't fire. And I had him dead to fucking rights. He would have been dead. And it doesn't fire. And that split second of it not firing was enough difference in time for their guy to come and kill me. And Legion scored. And similar to what you said about Do, I fucking lost it. I have never lost it like this in the middle of a game before. Like an actual competitive game. I just started typing and raging about this is a shit port. Why are we on this? This is fucking horrible. Why does anybody like this port? Fuck Legion. Like I was just like going out. And I love Dave. I don't have any problems with Legion. But it was like a really like, and I look, to be clear, I was 100% in the wrong for that. Like 100%. It was unprofessional. It was unbecoming. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just sucked it up, played through it. Whatever happened, happened. But after, again, pre-Discord, so we're still using IRC. We went into IRC. And at that time, I know that Bones and Ralph had a falling out and they weren't even talking. But like,
I'll tell you about that.
Yeah, I'll go on. We'll go on. But
no,
hold on. Let me tell you. So sure. I'm going like off in IRC, and you're arguing with me. You're not saying anything personal. You're not saying anything bad. But everybody, like Bones wasn't, and Ralph wasn't. But even Ralph and Bones like started agreeing, like you shouldn't have played if you felt that way. But like, and you guys were all right. But like, you know how the Zandronum community was, man. Like, I don't have to explain anything to you. The type of things that people were in there fucking saying were just like, dude, whoa. And I'm not a sensitive person. I realize it's the internet and people, do a lot of tough guy talk and say things that they would never say to you in your face. But I mean, they were deeply personal things. Things like kill myself. You should just make your kids an orphan and do them a favor. Like, people were saying all sorts of crazy shit. And I got really frustrated with you because you were the one that was digging the deepest, like, in terms of, like, arguing. You weren't making anything personal. You weren't saying anything bad. But I just kind of felt like, dude, like, if we're friends, if we're cool, like, you see how these people are talking to me. Just stop. And you're not obligated to stop. You're not obligated to do any of that. But I just feel like if that were me, I would have just been like, dude, I see how these people are talking to you. Let's just take this in PM. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it just got so bad, I just left. And right or wrong, I blamed you for that, for everything. Because I just felt like, I knew how Zandronum players were going to be. You know what I mean? I knew that. But like, I just felt like you should have just been like, hey man, like, y'all need to chill or whatever. And I held that against you, right or wrong. So for a number of years, I wouldn't talk to you. I wouldn't come around the Doom community. I was done with the Doom community. Like, I came back in 2017 to run that tournament, and you had given me a lot of shit on the forums, and I'm just like, I'm not even going to say anything to you. But then I think it was Mobius maybe, or somebody said, like, we should talk, and we didn't really talk about this, but we kind of patched things up, and we're on good terms, and we're good now. But, like, that's why I left the community and never wanted to come back. And honestly, when I ran that tournament in 2017, the Z-Damon tournament for D5M1, I wanted to run it on Zandronum because I knew I could get more players, but I wanted nothing to do with the player base. And that's why ultimately I made all these excuses up for why I didn't want to run it on Zandronum, but the bottom line was I didn't want Zandronum players. And I'm good with most of them now. I think a lot of them would have admitted back then, I don't even know who they were, if they're even still around, that they were young, they said dumb things, they shouldn't have said it. But like I said, I held that against you for a number of years. I feel like that kind of like was something that started when I didn't draft you and like we grew apart and I blamed you for like all this crazy shit and it wasn't your fault. But if you've heard anybody say that I said anything bad about you or anything like that, like that's where it was coming from. And I think I was probably in the wrong for that. So I guess just like on public and on stream or whatever, I'm apologizing for that. We're good now. I got no problems with you, but I just wanted to get that off my chest because that's something I've always felt. And I talked to Mobius about this a while ago. And, you know, he said I should talk to you, but I'm just like, you know, we'll talk. I don't think we'll ever talk about it, but you know what? I'm saying it now. And, you know, for what it's worth, I'm sorry for that. And I'll let you go ahead. The floor is yours.
So, one thing I will interject before we get on to the whole IRC trolling thing that happened. When you said that Bones and Ralph weren't on speaking terms, that was actually kind of the gateway to my Zandronum experience because I'm sure you remember the whole Ralphus quotes thing.
No.
It was like an offshoot of the Kilgore quotes that I think Bones had ran. It was just like a collection of kind of, I don't know, totalitarian quotes that are funny quotes that Kilgore would always say. So what had happened was that it was LB that had made Ralph's quotes, and he used like a really shitty picture of Ralph. I can't remember which one it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Ralph saw this picture, and he thought that it was Mike Hell. So he would always give Mike Hell shit on the servers and IRC because he felt that it was Mike Hell that was doing it on, you know, because remember there was the whole clique of, you know, Mass VC, Ladna, Mike Hell, and No Star. So he always thought that it was Mike Hill trying to up on him and just trying to embarrass him or just, you know, fuck with him. And eventually it came to the point where it was like, no, Mike Hill didn't have that Ralph's quotes. It was LB the whole time. So Ralph was like, all right, fuck you, LB. You know, I give you access to my Facebook or whatever. You do this shit. So he kicked him out of UD. He didn't want anything to really do with him for a good while. You know, I don't even know if he has anything to do with him today, but you know, he kicked him out of UD, didn't want to talk to him. Ralph was, Bones was still, you know, okay with you, LB, you know, because LB's a, you know, he's a cool guy for the most part.
Right.
So I guess Ralph kind of took it personal because it's like, you know, Bones and Ralph had this whole, you know, you my bro, that kind of shit, you know, whatever. So I guess Ralph expected Bones to have his back and expecting Bones to apprehend LB and say, you know, you shouldn't be doing this shit. Fuck you. You're banned from the IRC or whatever the fuck. But he didn't. So I know they claimed otherwise years later, but he did kick a Bones out for not having his back like that. And I took Bones, LB, and Fluffles, and we made like some Zandronum clan and just started playing. And that was kind of our gateway to it. But that's kind of why you say that Bones and Ralph weren't talking. It was just because of that whole Ralph's quotes situation. And, you know, they're like brothers. You know, they've known each other since they were fucking 13, 14, whatever. So it was going to blow over. I knew it was. There was no way they were never going to talk to each other for the end of the earth, you know. But that was the whole reason you mentioned that. I wanted to bring that up. That was why they weren't talking, because of the whole Ralph's thing. He expect the whole Ralph's quotes thing. He expected Bones to have his back no matter what, and just say "fuck you, LB, don't be doing that shit. You're done." And he kind of wasn't, because he kind of, to be honest, it was kind of fucking funny. Those quotes were. So, that was that whole thing of why they weren't on good terms at that time.
Right.
As for the whole IRC thing, the way I saw it was that I didn't expect you to go off like that. And as for the Zandronum community, when they see blood in the water, they're going to fucking jump.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's not because it's you. If it was Ralph, if it was Chewy, if it was Jakis, it doesn't matter. If it's a high profile player that has some kind of pull to his, or prestige, I guess, if you will, to his name, they're gonna fucking jump on you regardless. It doesn't matter. It was just a rare opportunity of somebody who never faltered like that. He freaking broke down and started ranting like a madman. Of course they're gonna jump on you. That's kind of how they were at the time, and they kind of still are, arguably. But that's why, to me, it felt like, well, you're better than that. Why would you just start bitching, about the port or whatever? All ports fucking suck at the end of the day. But when you're a high profile player and you do that shit, it's no surprise that they're all going to jump on you. And that's kind of what happened. Now, I don't know what they were telling you in PM, because I don't see those, obviously. They're between you and whoever was PMing you. But because it was playoffs, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, last week is the last week of the season.
Okay, so it was the last week of the season. There was playoffs on the line, right?
Yeah.
So, you got an important match. You're a high-profile player, and you go off like a madman. Of course, people are going to shit on you.
Mind you,
to me, it's like, all right, I didn't expect that from you. I expect that from somebody like Zanero. I expect something like that from, I don't know, fucking No Star. If he loses, total trash or whatever. But to me, it was like, all right, I didn't expect that from him. He's doing it, whatever. There's no reason for it. Everything, people drop packets all the fucking time. So
yeah.
So that's why I didn't really think anything of it, to be honest. So when you said you blame me, I just kind of chuckled it off. He's just blowing off steam. Ain't no big deal. And that's how I thought of it for years, to be honest. Because I've known you for so many years, so I was like, for once he got the troll fest, Okay, so whatever. You'll get over it. And you didn't get over it for like 3 years or some shit like that.
Yeah. Well, and it was, honestly, like I said, it wasn't, I was in the wrong as far as the argument went. And as far as going off, like, I was 100% wrong. And it was just, like I said, it's kind of like the Bones thing, when the Ralph thing. It's like, you see these people talking shit and saying all this crazy shit to me, like, in a public IRC channel. Like, just have my back. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I felt like. But I also understand that, well, number one, I'm also, while I'm dealing with this, I'm also arguing with you too. And I'm saying things too. So it was just a crazy situation. It blew up. I shouldn't have held it against you. I'm honestly hesitant to say even Zandronum players. I just think it was just a collection of people now that I look back at it. Because my experience with Zandronum players now was nothing but good. And maybe it's just because, like I said, they had a chance to grow up. And look, it is what it is, right? And I'm good with you. Like I said, I guess it just hurt me the most because at one time I looked at you like you were my best friend, and I felt like in that moment you just should have done more. But it is what it is. We're good now. I think I just overreacted, and I held it against you when I should have, and I apologize for any of my part in that. The only thing I'll say is that it might have just been, and this is something you wouldn't have known and nobody would have known. At that time, I was going through a lot of shit personally. And I was turning my life around. It was 2015 or 2014. But like 2016 is when I like turned my life around big time. Like I committed to being a lot healthier in my life. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. The following year, I went back to school. I became a better husband, a better father, all of those things. And at that point, I was at my lowest at that point. And so there are a lot of bad things going on. So it also could have been too that like I just associated Doom and gaming like as a bad thing and put it all into one ball and put it off to the side. When in reality, like it was a lot of things. But that left a lasting impact on me. And that's why I didn't talk to you. And I don't know what you've heard, like I said. I don't know what you've heard or what anyone has told you. But I'm good with you. Anything I've said, I'm sorry. I was in a bad place, but I'm better now. So, and it's all for the good. And I'm happy to be back in the Doom community. I'm happy to do things that I enjoy doing. I think that's why I'm working with the MDF the way I am, even though I think that, you know, I've definitely heard about some sketchy things that have happened with the MDF in the past. The only thing I will tell the players is, you know, I get that. I understand how you feel, but I'm not, like, even though the MDF is like this cohesive unit, we all kind of have our own view and we all do our own things. So don't give up on us yet. Don't give up on me. Just give us a chance as far as that goes. But yeah, a little plug there for MDF and to close out that part of it. That's how I felt. So I don't know. I don't know if you have anything else to say about that, but
well, from my understanding, it was pretty much one-sided because I remember one time Dr. Noob was trying to troll me, you know, because there was this time period where he would troll our team speak, or, you know, A3's team speak or whatever. And he mentioned something that I didn't quite understand. He's like, yeah, Hatred don't fucking like you and this and that. You're a terrible friend. I was like, what the fuck is he even talking about? Because to me, that whole IRC blow up, I didn't even think much after it. Because you have to understand, I was like part of the board. So what is my job? To keep things, you know, from going out of control. You don't want players fucking blowing up and making things, you know, unnecessarily dramatic more so than they should be.
right.
So to me, I just saw it as like, oh well, he's just blowing off steam. He'll get over it. To next week, he won't give a shit. And I didn't really even think about it. Like I didn't feel any kind of way about it. I just felt like, he'll get over it. He'll be fine. So to me, my duty is just to, you know, if somebody's gonna make a big bitch fest about whatever we've done, whatever port we've chosen, so my job is to, all right, well, just minimize their impact of whatever they're doing. So if you're making a whole bitch fest, like you're saying this port shit because your shot got dropped, it's like, all right, well, whatever, you know, I'm just gonna like calm it down, and then everybody has their fun with it, you know, troll whatever the fuck, and it's next day, whatever. So I never really dwelled on it. So I didn't even know you felt this kind of way about it until I had said something about it. And I didn't even understand it when he mentioned it. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Shut the fuck up, you know? Because I felt he was just pulling my chain. So, you know, to me, I thought he's such a profile player. He shouldn't be doing this.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
he's this. That was my whole thing. Like, he shouldn't be doing this.
Well,
Like,
I was in the wrong. I was in the wrong about that for sure.
Like, I wouldn't do it. Like, you won't hardly see me bitching about the port like that when I was an active player. Nowadays, if I don't feel a certain way about a port, I just don't play.
Yeah.
You know, I have the foresight to say I don't like this. I'm not going to do it. So be it. Whatever. But that's why to me it was like left field, like that you felt this kind of way. But you know, the Xandrona community has always been the way it is. So I didn't quite know. They said some shit, whatever, you know. So
it was chaotic. I mean, and I held on to it. Like I said, it was me. I held on to it. And I probably made a much bigger deal of it than you did. For me, like I said, it was like a traumatic thing. But for you, it was...
To me, it wasn't dramatic. It was just like Tuesday to me. Because how many times have we seen players blow up because they lost the match?
But, yeah, no. And that's why I said, like, I think I took it to another level. And it was... It just is what it is. I was in the wrong. I think I shouldn't have held that against you, and I did. So I'm sorry that I held that against you.
I didn't even think anything of it. And to be honest, you ain't the only one. There's been other players that have fucking been vocal enough about losing the match and dropping a shot or losing the packet. So it ain't the first time, and it definitely ain't gonna be the last time as long as people play leagues on Doom ports.
It's whatever, man. So let's we're running over 2 hours now. So I want to close this out.
So we still got so much more to go through. We should just drop another 30 minutes.
Drop another 30? Okay. Well, I wanted you to talk to me about the post like A3 era and your time in A3 and kind of the things that went on with that and what led to your inactivity. Because it seems to me now that you're just like, well, I like mapping, I like doing this thing, but I don't want anything to do with events, and I don't want to play Doom. So like, what led up to that, and how you're at this point now?
So after that whole IDL season, we had, we paid out people. They finally fucking played. All right, whatever. I can't remember exactly why, but we didn't want to run the IDL again, so it was kind of dead. So Do had the whole rights, if you want to say, to that name IDL. It was tied to him, and the league on any Zandrona league was done by some, I think Dragon did his own thing. Zakin did his own thing eventually, but the IDO died after that first Skulltech season, and the only legacy it had was like a prize pack, because I was admin of the NJ servers, so obviously I'm like, all right, IDO's dead, but it can live on in a fucking PK3, so be it. So I was doing that for a while, and I just didn't really. It was tiring. So much bitching, so much fucking trolling. Like, being an admin was so fucking tiring, And it was kind of like that. I joined A3 once with Genova. We did like this clan war thing, and then I left to do the IDL thing, and then I went back because I'm like, I don't got anything else to do. My brother's a fucking leader, so why not? Who wouldn't join a clan with their own brother, right?
Right.
So, I was doing that for a while. Drama here, drama there, community drama, metal this, metal that.
Metalhead?
Yeah, metalhead.
She came back?
Well, she was at like admin of the forums, and we took her down. We got Tor involved. It's a lot of trouble. It's really pointless at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, she was just not a good admin. I never liked her from the Z-Demon days, so it is what it is. But if you're asking me in terms of what happened after that IDL season, it was just pretty much playing on Zandronum, interacting with the people, getting into the drama fest, having clan scrims, whatever. That's all it kind of was. I know Ralph eventually thought of the idea of the WDL, trying to improve some of the things the IDL didn't do so great. I had no interest in it because I didn't like Ultimax, because I felt like, oh, well, that third season, we told everybody it was going to be different. We told everybody a lot of things were going to be better. And then things weren't different. Things weren't better. It was more or less of the same, and it made me look like a fucking fool. So, personally, me, so I was like, fuck that, whatever. That's why I didn't really fuck with Ultimax after that, because I felt like, all right, I put my word on the line. I tell all these people sign up for this shit, and then it goes to hell. So it's like, all right, so I look like a fucking liar and a piece of shit. So that's why I took it on. That's why I was kind of like, I didn't really fuck with the Ultimax after that, because, you put your line, you put your word, and then it goes, it turns 180 on you. You feel like a shitty person, like you just lied to everybody just to get them to sign up for the shitty league,
Right.
So that was my reasoning for not wanting to have anything to do with Ultimax. The whole Skulltag thing or Zandronum thing was just, just clan drama, politics, playing here and playing that. My gist was the main thing I did was just admin and play. To me, I kind of got tired of dealing with the Zandrona community. I think the tipping point was I talked to Alex and I talked to the other admins of NJ, which is like the main hub of all the competitive players. And we wanted to reform and do rules right and, have strikes against people who were doing dumb shit like throwing in Prime, disconnecting mid-game, all the shit that people always did. So we wanted, we came up with some sort of punishment system. So we rolled it out. People got punished, and then at Genova, because we were always like, I was always butting heads with Genova, because there was just these time periods where Genova would be like super cool with you, hey, what's up, bro, and this and that shit. But then he'd go on to Trofest, and it's like, well, all right, so which Genova am I dealing with, the piece of shit or the bro, So what he did was, he kind of told me, hey, so-and-so is breaking the rules. You should apprehend him, ban him, blah, blah, blah. and we banned some people for breaking rules. And then he went and go ahead and threw up his own server and had everybody in there who got banned. And it was just kind of like a taunt, I guess, to everybody that was on the NJ admin, like, you guys don't got any pull or whatever, that kind of shit. You're all stupid. And to me, that was like the final straw. I was like, you know what? Fuck all those guys. I don't give a fuck about them. Because it's pretty obvious they didn't care about rules and having private, structure or whatever. So it was that turning point where I didn't care anymore. I didn't give a shit about being an admin and trying to make things right, because it's obvious they care more about doing dumb shit than actually, a competition or whatever the fuck you want to say. And after that, I was like, all right, whatever. Fuck all these guys. I don't care anymore. That was kind of the beginning of the end of my adminship on NJ, because I had been an admin for some years, because I never had any, I always got along with Alex Max. I talked to him recently, some few months ago, just some questions. And I never had any problems with him. I talked to him straight up. He was never any kind of like, he never did any kind of like dancing around or any kind of bullshit. So to him, he was more of the laissez-faire. He didn't care. Like, he wanted his admins to do all the hard work. He just paid for the servers.
Right.
So in terms of the Zandronin people, after that happened, I was like, whatever. You know what? These guys don't care about structure or anything. They just want to troll and all that nonsense. So that was kind of like the beginning of me not really wanting to have anything to do with the Prive community, because that was really the Prive players that did all that shit. And to be honest, I know you said you weren't around for a lot of the that season that you left for Zandronin, but personally for me, it was just constantly fighting with like R or whoever, TM, administrators, Genova, whatever. It was nothing but drama for the most part. For me not really wanting to be a part of it, it was just getting tired of it. Even though I was always the kind to just want to fight all the time, even it drains me after a while.
Right.
So that's kind of just it. Like, I just didn't really want to fucking deal with that shit anymore. When that happened on NJ, when they kind of just put up that server and taunted us for trying to like be actual admins, that was like, all right, you know what, whatever. Fuck all this shit. I don't care anymore. And after that, it was just really just kind of like slowly piecing away, chipping away at being involved in the community. I know you probably would say, oh, well, did you do anything else? I mean, we did clan scrims, we did mapping projects and this and that. But what got me back into Doom was kind of just the CTF portion of the IDL.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to stick around, trying to relive that stuff was kind of just what I was doing at the time. And then when I just really didn't enjoy the whole competitive aspect, the player base and the attitude and the general mindsets of the people, that's when I slowly started really didn't care anymore. Because all it was just bullshit egos and drama at that point. And even within our own group, we had fallen outs with people, and it came up to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm done with this shit. I don't care. I just don't want anything to do with it. So that's kind of why I just stood away. And I just didn't really have anything to do with it. I turned in my keys to the administration for NJ. I stopped playing. I didn't care about leagues or whatever. I just did my own thing. And that was kind of the whole just moving away from Doom, I guess. Because after the whole thing with you happened, it was all just that whole Zandronin thing was just mainly just drama and power struggles or whatever. And I don't know. After so much, you get tired of it. You just like, why am I even caring about this shit? It's not important. And that was kind of my whole attitude in the past few years. It's just like, you know what? I'll just distance myself and not really care. And, there's so much more drama, but it's not worth getting into. I think for the best part is just distancing yourself. And to be honest, a lot of the people that are still around kind of don't even really care about the drama stuff. And in a way, it's kind of sad because when nobody cares, who cares after all? You know, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. So I mean, I had heard some things about you and Genova having beef with each other. I don't know if it was like, I think I remember him saying something from the fact that you guys were basically running it like Nazis. And I'm not saying that that's what I believe. I had heard something like that, and that they didn't care for the way things were being run.
Okay, well, the thing about that is that people would always cry that, oh, so and so stopped, they threw a match, they disconnected, they stopped playing, they fist ran the whole 10 minutes or whatever the hell it was. It's like, all right, so we have this lax attitude of like, all right, you guys, you eventually figure it out kind of thing. And then, okay, that's not working. So we got to take a more of a strong fisted approach.
Right.
So make up your mind. You get mad because we're more lax and letting you guys figure it out. But then you say we don't do shit. Okay, so then now we do shit. And then all of a sudden, oh no, you guys are fucking hell Hitler Nazi. I'm like, oh, well, make up your fucking mind. And it was really just Genova for the most part. Like, I was just so fucking tired of Genova at the end of it. All it was just one day Genova's like your best buddy laughing with you on TeamSpeak, and this day he's just trying to fucking troll you and fuck you over with dumb shit with politics. And it's like, all right, which Genova am I dealing with? Which one are you? After so many years of dealing with him, it's like, all right, you know what? I don't give a fuck anymore. Deal with it. So if he felt that way, so be it. The player base obviously couldn't handle, our more relaxed approach, because Alex Max's approach was just more, admins will deal with it with whenever people bring something up. We're not going to be actively always trying to police them. That was his approach. He just wanted to pay for the servers and have his admin team, do all the dirty shit.
Right.
So and we did that. So when that wasn't working, what more are we supposed to do? Obviously, that's not working, so we have to do something else. So when we do more of a more strict, you break this, you get this punishment, we try that. And then they don't like that. So then what the fuck do you want? You don't like us not being lazy, and you complain we're never in the servers, we're never around. Okay, now we're around, we're more strict or whatever, and then you don't like it. So then what the fuck do you want?
Right.
That was my whole, meaning about it. And then he brings the whole, because to be honest, you look at the fucking topics that he made, all it was a fucking power struggle. People blamed us, blamed me for being part of the people that killed BE, the automated service he did for, TSPG, right?
Yeah.
So he made the BE shit with Watermelon. So he was the first one to bring that shit up with Zandronum. The automated server hosting and whatever. You just throw a few command lines and you got your server up. So, for some reason, he felt like, it's been a couple years, so I may be wrong. But he took the servers down because he wasn't happy with the way, certain people weren't being apprehended for their actions. Namely like me and my brother, or whatever, Mobius or whoever you want to say. So he was kind of holding the community hostage by saying, oh, you got to ban these guys and do that, or I'm taking my server down. So it's like, what the fuck are you even doing? I thought you were our buddy, but then you're doing this whole stupid power grab bullshit. And then it backfired on his ass because nobody gave a shit. Because then TSPG came, arose or whatever. They used the same bot. So it's like, what are you fucking doing? It's so fucking tiring of dealing with your bipolar ass every fucking year. So when he fucked off, it's like, all right, whatever. I'm just tired of this shit. That was like the last big major, drama that happened between me and him, because you never knew which Genova you were dealing with.
Right.
You'd have Genova, they would be like, talk to you on TeamSpeak or whatever and be like all cool and shit. And then you got the Genova that'd be like trying to bury you on the forums and saying that you're a piece of shit, you're terrible, you should be banned because you do this. So if he felt like we ran it like a Nazi, it's because doing the opposite didn't work. So obviously we're going to try we're going to try to do it more strong-fisted, but the Pride community didn't really care at that point. So it comes to a point, it's like, all right, so damn if you do, damn if you don't. And after the whole Genova took down PE, it was just really tiring. I was already done with so much drama. It was unnecessary. It was literally just a power grab. And he lost the power grab. So the thing is that he didn't realize that it doesn't matter how much money you put into Doom. If you're a server host, you're pretty much expendable. It's happened so many times in Z-Damon and on any of the ports. If your servers go bye-bye, somebody will take your place.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. TSPG took his place, and it's like, oh, who's Genova? I don't know. He fucking made the bot server, whatever. So, I don't know. I don't know what his deal was. I don't know if he was bored and just felt like trolling or whatever, but it was during that time where it was pretty much tiring for the most part. After that, it was kind of just more or less peaceful, I guess, for the most part. I know the Zandronum administration has tried this whole different aspect of policing their player base, I guess. If you're just the person that has a track history of doing bad stuff, they'll get rid of you. Whatever. So be it. I didn't particularly agree with that because they were the kind of people that would say, oh, you did bad over here on YouTube, so we're going to ban you. So it's just dumb.
Yeah, extending your reach too far.
Yeah, it's literally what it was. Extending your reach too far. I don't agree with that. I think if somebody fucks up around the servers or on the forums or whatever the fuck, they get banned shit can there and there. Just because they do something stupid on another forums, they shouldn't get punished. But, I guess I can kind of understand doing the opposite. It hasn't worked for so long, so sure, maybe try this way. I don't know. After just kind of getting fed up with all the dumb drama, I just kind of drifted apart and did my own thing, and I don't know. It's been better for me. I kind of haven't really enjoyed the game too much in the past few years. The people that are around during that time are gone, so it's not the same as it was when I was a teenager. So I feel like, can't really live the past, I still enjoy making content or whatever, whether people like it or not. I just like the process of creation, so that's pretty much what I've been doing the past few years. I don't really get involved with leagues or anything too much. I don't know what's going on. The only drama I know that happened recently was the whole ghosting incident.
Yeah.
We can get into that in a bit. I think it was kind of funny. Well, not necessarily funny, but it's interesting in all aspects. I guess you can kind of give a preview or overview of what happened with the whole ghosting thing, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't know a ton about it either because I wasn't around. I guess what it was, and Ralph explained it to me, was that it was a team with Tony and Bones, and they did it against Caboose and Ross King, and I don't know if it was a playoff game. I don't remember. I really don't. I just know that basically they found out that Bones' team was ghosting because Tony uploaded something onto YouTube or something that they basically discovered that their fourth was sitting in the server and they were giving away positions and they were timing items. And there was just a huge fallout with it where I guess I don't even know if Bones got punished or if he got suspended for a game or what or any games docked. I really don't even remember the whole fallout from it as far as what the punishment was because I've only talked to a couple of people about it a couple of times. But I guess the gist of it was that everybody else felt like, wow, this is like the UD Mafia, where they're just looking out for each other. Like he didn't get any real punishment. And there's all this drama about it. And basically they're holding the WDL and their administration, and particularly Ralph, is responsible because Ralph isn't giving Bones a real ban or any real punishment because they're friends. And basically what Ralph told me was the reason why that they didn't really do much was because, number one, it didn't make any difference in the game. The fact of the matter is Bones' team still got fucking smashed. number two, ghosting while nobody... Like, I'm never going to say it's okay to ghost people. It's not on par with something like aimbotting or wall hacking. And number three, the WDL does shorter seasons where they only do 5 games during the regular season. So if they go around disqualifying people right and left, they don't have a lot of leeway to redo matches or anything along those lines. So I think like Ralph is put in kind of a rock in between a rock and a hard place where he's like, well, do I come down on him or do I just kind of say, you know what, like, this guy has been around forever. He's done a lot of things for the community. Maybe I should just let it go and, you know, because it didn't matter at all. It's kind of like how you see in baseball where like there's a lot of things that are against the rules that people still do. Ghosting is one of them, and there's no perfect way to police it unless you just play with only people allowed in the server as the game is being played and everyone else has to watch the stream. But that's not a good thing for Doom because people like being in the server to watch the game. And at the end of the day, I do think I agree with Ralph in that sense, because Bones, while everybody, even myself included, have had problems with him, the community is in a much better place because of him. And Bones is not somebody that has a long history of cheating. He's done a lot for the community, so like I wouldn't have been in a position where I would have pushed for banning him. I mean, I might have sat him down for the rest of the season and just been like, look, I got to make an example out of you. Or if it was in a playoff game, look, you can't captain next season. I would have done something like that, but I guess the players just blew up and said it was this whole mafia thing and that basically they were all in cahoots. And, you know, Ralph just said pretty much what you said. Okay, fuck all of you. I'm like not doing this. I'm getting away from this because like this is just too much. I think all of us, to just clear this up, I have had something that none of you guys have had. I've had breaks from Doom in the community because I went and I played in another game. I played League of Legends, you know, almost as long as I've played Doom now. Like I played League of Legends since 2012. I played League of Legends for 8 years and I played Doom for like 15 years, but there's a lot of inactivity in those 15 years of Doom. In reality, I've probably only played Doom for like 10 years. And you guys have never really had real long extended breaks. It was just like a year off here and then you're back in the community, you're back in the thick of it. And that just wears down on you. Like that shit beats you the fuck down. And you just get to a point where you don't want to do it anymore. And it takes away the fun it takes the fun away from the game. Look, both times that I've left this community for long periods of times, in 2012 and in 2015, were because it just wasn't fun for me. Whether it was drama, whether it was anything else, I lost passion for the game and I wasn't having fun and I had more fun doing other things. Now I've come to a point where I'm back because, frankly, I don't have fun playing League. I miss the interactions that I get in Doom. I missed a lot of my friends in Doom. Quite frankly, the people that I played with in Doom are my age, whereas like League players are like 17, and holy shit, fuck them. But yeah, so I get it. And that's what we do in the MDF, where it's like we all kind of do our own thing. We run things whenever we want. We don't really answer to anybody. We don't really care about perception so much. I mean, we do. But like the Prague tournament that I'm doing right now, I think I have like 11 signups. If I get 12, whatever, fine. I'll run an event with 12 people. I don't care. And it's gonna be streamed, and I'm gonna have fun doing it. I might even play in it. But I think that's a good thing for you guys, all of you going forth, where you've had this time off because we just ran a WDL. Well, I was in the WDL, I didn't run it, but Ralph and Bones and everything, and they did it. It was a great season. It was a very competitive season. You had a lot of old faces come back. You had me, you had Chain Dude, you had Stal. I'm sure there's others that I just can't think of off the top of my head, but we came back, we played, we all had a good time, and yes, there was some drama, like there always is. But you want to know what? At the end of the day, like, if you just get to a point where you say this drama isn't worth it anymore for me, then there's nothing to say. There's nothing to do. It's just, you just have to get to a point where you say, I could deal with the drama, I could put up with the bullshit, but I could definitely see and understand, because I ran that tournament in 2017 and I'm running one again now, and I just ran Judas July. It is a nightmare because no matter what you do, you're never right. And, you know, armchair critiques have everything to say. And what I could say is, it's like, you know what though? That's true, but let's not become like the people we swear to hate. And let's not become like the people that pushed us out of this game or pushed us away from this game for whatever reason. Because that's not what I want to be. And that's why I'm doing exactly what you are. I'm doing what the fuck I want to do, and I'm having fun. And at the end of the day, I hope that maybe you could find that for you too. Maybe you could get back into playing at some point and play in a league. Maybe we could bring EBL back. But yeah, if you're not having fun, there's nothing to say. Like, I'm just gonna do my own thing and enjoy it, right?
Yeah. I wanted to mention the whole ghosting thing because I think that was probably the last big drama that happened.
I mean, there's probably other stuff that I'm just not aware of, but
I think that's the one that I heard of, and I had been detached from the whole competitive scene at that point. But it's such it is kind of annoying because it is a more complex situation than most people think about.
sure.
On one hand, you have say, okay, sure, this guy had his fourth ghosting on voice chat, saying when the timer of the soul sphere was going up. But on the other hand, it'd be a damn fool to think that nobody else was ghosting with their fourth back in the audio days. Like, everybody was fucking doing it.
We tried it, remember? With Rudy? We tried it in a practice with him. We never did it in a game.
Right. So,
But we got smashed.
well, you got people like No Star who was uploading demos of his teammates, when people were like, they were told, upload your demos to the site. And he was uploading his teammates' demos. He didn't demo shit, and he got, punished for it. But everybody was doing shady shit back then. They just didn't get caught. Like me, I uploaded Gilgamesh's demo. I just fucking changed my name to his, and nobody knew. I told Strangle to play for Dawson Nation. Nobody realized it.
Right.
Like, I told him to alias his Dawson Nation in a match or something, and people bought it. Like, everybody was always doing shady shit. As for the whole ghosting thing, like, yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, it's bullshit that you have a guy who can spectate and watch the whole match and, move them along the map and tell you, oh, yeah, the timer's up in 25 minutes, 25 seconds. On the other hand, you're kind of putting a rock in a hard place, like you said. Either you apprehend this guy or you come out and say, okay, yeah, it's okay if you do that. And I think most of the players were unhappy with the fact that they got neither. They didn't get an official word to say, oh, well, this has always been, something has been practiced. So, yeah, it's not against the rules. And they also didn't get, oh, well, he's getting banned for the whole season. Because I think what it was is that Bones got, banned from capping? Is that what it was?
I don't know. I don't even know, to be honest.
I think that's what it was. I don't think he got banned for that season. But, like I said, you'd be a damn fool to think that No Star or whoever the hell, whatever teams didn't utilize their fourth to help with timing items. Because you can't police that.
Or giving away player position, which was another thing. But
you can't stop ghosting. I mean, you can, but you have to code it in your port.
Well, you'd ruin the Doom. I'd argue you'd ruin the experience for the players that like to be in the server, and that's a big thing in the game.
Well, you got to remember these days now, people are more into streaming than they were in 2010. Back in 2010 or 2011, we just had Rot King doing streams by himself.
Yeah.
Nowadays, more people are having the streaming shit uploaded into their videos, so streaming is a bit more, more fleshed out these days than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
But at the same time, if you want to prevent ghosting, you have to prevent it on your port pretty much. If I had a port and I was going to say, okay, well, I want to prevent ghosting, the only way you can do that is if you have your two teams, your red and blue, and they both have a spectator kind of thing where their fourth stay, and then nobody else is in the server, and then they just stream it.
Right.
I don't know how feasible that is. But that's literally the only way that I can think of off the top of my head. Because you can say, all right, you three, you're on red team, the other three are on blue team. your fourth is on the spectator blue. Because you don't remember, Z Demon has team spectators, right? Because you can set your team red or blue in the console, and then when you join a server, you're not joined, you're as a spectator. So you kind of take that concept, and the fourth of each team is on the spectator color, and everybody else is either spectator or not in the server. And it's a fucking pain in the ass, basically. But going back to the whole spectator thing, yeah, you could make the argument it was cheating, but at the same time, everybody was doing it back then, or most people were doing it. And I think the fact that they didn't really specify that, oh, this is against the rules, or oh, this is okay, is probably what bit them in the ass that season. And that's what brought along the whole memes about the whole ghosting, oh, we ghost and still lose a match.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it matters much. Like, I think the fact of the matter is in Doom, like, you almost always know where your opponent is anyway, just based on the way the maps are constructed. And you can absolutely just time items without having to ghost. We did. On EBL, we did. We timed items very well. Like, you just have to practice. So, like, I think I'm with you. It's like I said, you're lying to yourself if you don't think people weren't doing it in the past. And
everybody was doing shady shit back then. They just didn't get caught.
And to be honest with you, that's not saying that like we condone it.
Yeah.
But like, you have to see, you have to see spectrum. Like, not everything is black and white. Like, there's variance, right? Like, there's degree. And the fact of the matter is yes, while I think cheating is cheating and there should be no tolerance, there's also some things where I'm just like, that's cheating in a way and definitely unethical, but it's not the same thing as aimbotting. It's not the same thing as wall hacking. And I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'd say to it. I would just say, look, if you're stupid enough to get caught, I got to sit you down. But again, like, you're also, as an administrator, like, it's not like we have an endless supply of players, right? And moreover, like I said, then you have to consider who the person is. Bones, whatever people think of him, and you can think whatever you want of him, you're free to do so. Bones has done a lot for the community. He's been an administrator, he's run leagues, he's been in clans, he's been, whatever you think of him, fine. But, like, I don't think anybody thinks, like, cheater. Like, a long history of cheating comes to mind with him. So there's that too. And let's be clear, we've had people in the past that were known cheaters that played in the IDL. And they were given second chances. I mean, Polyf was a fucking known cheater, and he got to play in the league several times. He cheated in the league at one point. Now,
because he fucking DDoSed the other team.
Well, no, he played as Dragon, and there was a whole controversy about whether he cheated or not. To me, it wasn't even a controversy. It was very clear he was aimbotting.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he was aimbotting on top of DDoS on the other teams.
But they let them come back. And I'm of the same opinion. You know what? If someone shows that they can change and someone can show that, because I think people get better over time, so I'm not into permanent bans anyway. So if that's the mentality that you have, and I know that's a mentality that Ralph tends to have, yeah, like, and if we're going to consider the person, I'm not going to make that big of a deal of it, especially when it didn't affect the match one fucking bit. So, look, I understand if you were a team that got that had that done to you, how you might feel some type of way. But me, I would just say, you know what, like, even if that happened to me and I lost, I would still say, well, that's not why we lost. You know what I mean? Like, we could have done 1,000 things differently. We could have done A, B, and C better. Them ghosting me didn't make their players shoot better than me. Them ghosting me didn't make them aim, you know what I mean? Like, move better than me. And because Doom is such a fast-paced game, even if, like, you tell me where somebody is, by the time I get there, they're across the map. So you can keep on telling me where they're going, but, like, in my experience, when we did that with Rudy, it was more distracting and unhelpful and unuseful than anything else. And I can't imagine it being really that helpful in any scenario. So with that in mind, like, I just look at it like, It's not a good thing. If you're going to sit them down and say you can't cap for a season, that would be good enough for me. And if players feel some type of way about it, they feel some type of way, but they're going to regardless. So you just got to fucking do you, hold your head up and keep moving on. But I think Ralph got to that point where you were. They just said, you know what? I'm done with this. And it took them 2 or 3 years to come back and do another league. And he basically rolled out of bed and posted, hey, we're running a season, sign-ups. And I wasn't even going to play. But then I saw Juan signed up. Then I saw Chain Dude signed up. Then I saw Style signed up. And I was like, all right, I got to sign up. I fucking sucked. I was probably 60-50% of what I once was. But I'm fine with that because I don't want to play 6 to 8 hours a day anymore. I don't have the endurance or the drive to do that anymore. But I got to play with Alpha. I got to play with Dranzer, and you have ties to both of those players. Dranzer's an A3. Alpha was in a clan with your brother for a long time. I kind of already knew Dranzer a little bit, but playing with him was awesome. He's a cool dude. Alpha's a cool dude. I really like him. So I guess I would tell you is, if you're an administrator and you feel jaded and disgruntled by this community, I get it. I just hope at some point you give it another chance to come back and try playing again, because there is fun in this game if you can find it your way. But I absolutely recognize that you want to know what, maybe you just find that it's better to not play at all. But I would tell you, hey, give it another chance. You may be surprised what you find, because I certainly was.
We have to understand also, I think the players are more concerned with the fact that they just didn't come out and say that this was okay or this wasn't okay in terms of the ghosting. Not necessarily because, it happened, but...
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying they handled it perfectly, by the way.
No, it definitely didn't. And that's why a lot of people made all those memes and trolling or whatever. Because, look, I'm going to be the first to admit, everybody did dumb shit back then. Bones wasn't the first one to do, have his force do whatever he did. But at the same time, they just didn't handle it the right way. And that's what kind of wasn't... That was the part that wasn't well met with players for the most part.
Well, and let me pose this question to you, because you're somebody that's done a lot of administration. I've only done a few things. It's crazy how, the type of things that Bones and Ralph have done for this community with the various leagues that they've run, that one thing should overshadow all the good that they've done, all the IDL years, all the bullshit that they've put up with. And I'm not saying they've been perfect. I'm not saying they've always made the right decisions, but they'll own up to a lot of mistakes too. I guess I just look at it like, you want to know what? No, it wasn't perfect. You want to know what? Yeah, they could have done things better. But I think they deserve the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? If people don't feel that way, my response to you is, what the fuck have you run? What the fuck have you done? You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of people. When you name Ralphus, when you name Bones, there's not a lot of people that have done close to what they've done in the Doom community. I would argue that the Doom community would not be what it is today without Ralph. Period. And there's definitely been things that he's said and done that I don't agree with at all. But I don't see anybody else taking the time out of their day to organize people the way that he does and to organize events the way that he has over the last 15 years. And whatever it motivates him, whether it's running his own port or because Kilgore banned him and he still wants to be in touch, so he made his own community. Whatever you think it was, it doesn't matter. You aren't the one doing it. You're not the one doing that. So you don't have, unless you've done anything close to that level of work for the community, I don't think you have the right to criticize those people. You could say that they should have handled it better and you can be mad about it. But to imply that it's this corrupt to the core, lack of direction, complete bumfuckery is just absurd. Because all the people that I know of that complain really hard, number one, they're longtime problem community members. And number two, they haven't done shit. And even if they have, it's still comparing a mountain to a molehill. I'm sorry, when it comes to when it comes to what they have done for the communities, Ralphus and Human Bones are titans in this industry. So, yeah, they could have handled it better. I'm with you. And I agree with everything about people being upset. But like I said, I also think, you know what? Let's take a step back. they deserve a benefit of the doubt too. And that's just me giving my opinion. I know I said I was going to be objective in this. I honestly really haven't. But that's how I feel about it. And at the end of the day, it's not like they were fucking Dalek or natural. Like, they made a mistake. Like, it fucking happens, you know? If you're going to... It's kind of like... It gets into like this cancel culture bullshit where everybody's just like, you know... You find the one bad thing that somebody did in their life 20 years ago and just like flame them for it, but you ignore everything else they've done. And it's just it's crazy to me, man. Like, there's a part of me too that's just like, shut the fuck up and play, right? I don't know. I don't fucking know, bro.
Oh, it didn't really bother me too much. It is what it is. They chose to, apprehend Bones the way they did, and apparently it didn't even affect signups because the next time they ran the WDL, people played. So
yeah, but 3 years later,
in the long scheme of things, it didn't even make a difference.
Yeah, I think in the end of the day too, I think it gave Ralph and Bones, it gave everybody just a much needed break from the community. Honestly, like more so than anything. And like I said earlier with the MDF, like that's what we do. And I think that's like, and maybe that's what inspired Bones to create the MDF and to create things like that, was because he saw like the burnout that caused for them. Like, even though you were kind of responsible for that, but again, you have to look at it that way. Like, dude, burnout is the biggest thing that kills people who run these events, these leagues, these everything. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't have too much to say after that. Like, it just, like you said it best, it is what it is. So, is there anything else you want to get off your chest, say? We're at 2 hours and 46 minutes, so I figure we're going to do this as a two-parter. We'll break it down into about an hour and a half each. So, is there anything else you want to say? Because if not, I got a few fun questions to make this, to close this out on a good note.
I mean, I don't know. I can't really think of anything more. In my current time in the community is just far removed from it, so I'm so out of touch at this point. I don't even really play anymore. I don't really keep up with any of the big news, any of the big drama. I don't even know what leagues exist anymore, so I can't really think of anything more unless you want me to speak on any specific drama that you aren't unsure about.
I don't know of anything else.
I
mean, I know some of the Zach and stuff recently, but that's dumb shit. Like, I don't care about that, and I'm sure you don't either.
I mean, you could talk about the ports, the way they're run. I mean,
I don't know what there is to even say about that anymore. Like, we all know the history of the way the ports were run, right? Like, it's history. I mean, Z-Damon, let's be honest, they had everything. They had everything in the palm of their hands, and they dropped the ball. And that ended up causing a split. And there was already a kind of a split within that community anyway, between NS and OS, and then other splits. And then Odomex went off and did their own thing. Zandronum eventually, or Skulltag eventually became Zandronum. To me, I don't know what there is to say about it. Like, everybody kind of does their own thing now. I wish them all the best. I support all of them. Of course, I just said something bad about Z-Damon, so I'll be banned tomorrow.
Build the background.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna. So I applied for this job, and one of the things is that they said that you got to get an FBI background check. So I'm about to find out from them tomorrow. Yeah. By the way, you failed that because Z-Damon put in a bad word for me or something. I'm just joking. I love you, Domains. I love you, man. I'm having fun. This is fun for me, and But let's be honest now. Y'all came down a little heavy-handed back in the day. So I don't know. I don't know what is there. I don't know what there is to say about the ports. We're here. It's ancient history. And quite frankly, even if you brought up some of this drama, Ralph Kilgore, which I don't even want to fucking hear their names. I'm so tired of hearing about that. The Doom World dramas. I recently did find out about that, and I wasn't even aware of that, about the QuakeCon. And the Doom World forum beef, and the drama like with Kilgore and all of them. I mean, reading that forum section like made me cringe. It was like I was embarrassed to say that I was a member of this community at one point to see that. But again, like, what can you really say about it? Like, it was what it was. I don't know. So let me ask you questions. Let's close this out this way. Let's do it this way. We're gonna do fun questions, so that the little boys and girls at home listening to this podcast can go home with a smile, or will go to work or whatever it is they're doing while they listen. So I'll be very direct with this question. Would you ever consider coming back and playing in a league?
Probably not. Mainly because of the fact that I probably would not approach it with the same dedication that I had in the past.
Right.
If I'm not going to do it at 100%, I'm not going to do it at all. And I just can't see myself sitting in the server waiting to practice for an hour or 2 hours or whatever. I think that part of my Doom career, if you want to put it, has already been passed.
Right.
If I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, I'm just not going to do it at all.
That's fair.
And for the most part, I just don't really feel any need to want to play in a league.
I get it, man. All right, I gotta throw out this because I want to potentially have my ego massaged a little bit, since it's taken a little bit of a hit over the last year, since I'm not good at the game anymore, and I'm hoping that you could help me out here. Who are your top 5 overall Doomers of all time?
Top 5
overall, so CTF, duels, everything.
Let's see here. Chewy?
Yeah, that's a given.
No Star. Genova. Stallion, I guess. And I don't know. I won't say J-Kiss, because J-Kiss is like the master dodger. I don't know. Fill in whoever the hell you feel like. To be honest, I don't know. I can't say J-Kiss because he's kind of like a bitch when it comes to setting. He's
gotten better about that though, but yeah.
He won't play like an OS duel. He has to have his settings on his server, so he can win. And I even told him recently, I even said to his face, like, I don't think you're a great player because you dodge, any kind of challenge that isn't in your favor. And he's like, yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah, he's such a troll now, dude. All he does is troll. I fucking love it.
Yeah, so I don't know. You can put whoever as the 5th person.
You're not helping me out here.
I don't really think it matters, because as people disappear and new people come, they take their place anyway. So
it matters to me. I'm trying to put this on my resume.
I mean, you can put whoever as the 5th.
All right. No, I'm gonna stop bothering you about it. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna close it out here. Look, man, it's been great. I've had a lot of fun talking.
You forgot to ask me about the mapping.
Oh yeah. Let's get that. So your mapping projects.
Yeah. So I did all that Raid CTF, that's LMS stuff, that DM stuff, the dual stuff.
Well, you know what I'm mostly interested in? What motivated, like, when did you guys go? Because I know about Don't Be a Bitch, I know about Raid GTF, I know about Eon because I helped with Eon. But, like, what motivated the Eon weapons? Like, were you guys just like, I know we did the interview the other night and you had talked about, like, Quake player saying it's just run and gun super shotgun, but, like, that's a big fucking project to take on. And then you added that into the prog stuff too. Like, did you guys think when you did the Eon weapons that you were eventually going to make maps that would be even further along than just, or Aeon weapons, not Eon? Like, you led into prog like that. Like, that to me is like the cool thing, because it was like its own little evolution.
Not really. Like I said before in the other podcast, when people were shitting on the Devastation and J-Kiss duels, they were just saying, "Oh, well, what is this shit? Fucking reloading SSG for 10 minutes." So it was kind of just my own personal thing to try to remedy that, I
Right.
guess. So I didn't have any intention to say that, oh, it was going to be a dual thing. I just kind of made it as LMS because it was just something easier to work with because LMS is not so strict like CTF or dual.
Right.
And slowly it became, oh, well, let's try to balance this shit for a deathmatch, and then let's balance it for duel, our own thing. So no, it wasn't like a grand plan scheme from the beginning. It was just something that slowly morphed over time. And honestly, there's been some, pushback for it. But I'd like to say that for the most part, all those years of like fine tuning and stuff, it's not perfect, but it's near perfect.
As good as it's gonna get, probably.
To get in terms of me putting in the time.
Right.
I don't know. That's just always been something that Doom has always struggled with, was just the weapon balance. Like the competitive players always bitch about. Okay, they probably didn't on Z Demon and Ultimix, but on Zandronum, since there's more of a modding presence there,
Right.
people were more prone to bitch about the imbalance of weapons, and there was many people that tried to balance it, and nothing really took off. I know the Frenchies made their own, Watermelon made his own, a few other people made their own stuff to balance the weapons, and as much as people like to bitch and complain, the end of the day, they're just upset they lost the duel.
Oh yeah. Well, they want the same thing at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
they don't really care about the balance. They just care that their SSG one-hit kills from like across the map. Because none of those packs that the Frenchies made or Watermelon made, they didn't take off. They were like popular for like a few weeks, and everybody went back to the same old default of RNG from Doom.
Gotta love it.
So I think it's just most people were just mad that net code and the weapons suck, and so they have to lash out at something.
Right.
As for my own thing, I just took it upon a challenge to try to remedy it. I didn't really have any grand plans. It just sort of morphed along the way, as I said before. So, I'm pretty much almost finished with it. So, I don't have much more to do with it, other than just small fine tunings.
So we've talked a little bit about this. So I'll let this actually be what closes it out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a real possibility that we could ever do like Prague style maps with Eon weapons, with Aeon weapons in CTF?
Oh,
Would you be willing to do it? I guess is the better question, because it's possible. It's just whether or not we're willing to do it.
I think that it could be possible, but people would have to be willing to want to try something different.
Well, I think they
And-
are. To give you that, I think they are.
It's just a lot of fucking work.
You're
You
right.
have to
You're right.
Remember, I don't remember if you were around, but remember people thought it was a big deal that four-way CTF was coming out on 107. Like people wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. And then when it finally dropped, we played it for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then four-way CTF disappeared because we found out the map sets were shit,
Yeah.
and the overall gameplay wasn't fun. And then the same thing happened again with the double domination. We had all the hype, like, oh yeah, 109 is going to have this double domination from UT from Unreal Tournament, and it's going to be the shit. And then we all played it, and the fucking maps are ass, and then nobody ever played the game mode ever again because it was garbage.
Never took off.
The biggest obstacle would probably be the fact that you got to have a good set of maps to present your whatever game play style or gameplay you want.
Right.
Think of it in terms of the old Z-Dame and CTF 1, 2, and 3. Most people think fondly of 1 and 2 and not so much the 3.
Although 3 had status idle, which I thought was good, but that's
3 was just wasn't as consistent as the first two.
No. I honestly, I can only think of like Status Idol of the third map pack that I think Crawl Space was okay, but like I don't know, man. Crawl Space was.
Well, it just feeds in the fact that you gotta have a good map set to present your idea. Otherwise, it's just gonna die.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the hardest part because you're going onto unknown territory with a CTF gameplay style that nobody's ever done or even tried to, embrace.
Right.
So that's probably the hardest part about it. I think it's possible, but it's just, is the payoff good enough?
And then it's got to be done right on top of that because you only get one trip to the plate.
Yeah, because you can put on all your effort all you want, but if it sucks, nobody's going to play it. And then it's pretty much just a footnote in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll see. I guess we'll know when we know. So, all right, man. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. We got right around 3 hours. I've had a lot of fun. Like I said, this has been great. I really enjoyed this. I actually had way more fun than I thought I was gonna have doing this.
Yeah, we were saying we're only at like 90 minutes and be done.
Yeah, then we doubled that, and got me and got me banned from Z Damon.
Look
again, but
it ain't the first time.
Won't be the last.
Be honest. Anybody will tell you that the way Z Damon runs, they're the true, Iron Fist, and that's just the way it is. There's no surprises here. They've always been like that. And that's the reason why we have stuff like Odomix or whatever.
It's pronounced, by the way, it's pronounced Odomix.
Well, fuck, who cares?
No. Fucking.
Did they actually say that?
No, there's somebody, AVC pronounced it like that, and like we just thought it was fucking hilarious. So we just started saying, excuse me, it's pronounced Odomix. So, there it is.
I don't know. Z-Damon's always been Z-Damon, so you get what you see. I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it if you got banned or not.
I'm not gonna get banned.
I wouldn't. Even if you did, I don't think you lose. You wouldn't lose sleep over it.
No, of course not. But yeah, it is whatever. But yeah, dude, this shit was great. I think we could do some in the future too. I'm looking forward to doing more with other people. Look, if anyone has any rebuttal, I'll let you know.
I don't even think they're even going to listen this long enough. You probably only streaming to like Capo or something.
I hope
and he's
not.
always scheming with like, I show them I'm the best player or some shit.
We're both about to get DDoSed.
Yeah, he's probably going to DDoS everybody.
We're fucking done. So, all right, man. I'm going to close this off. Thanks again. This was fucking great. I had fun. And everybody, it was Rest King. Great player. Great friend. Great content creator, rather. So, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, I also coded shit for Zandron, don't ever forget.
And a coder of that. Alright, see you guys later.
For more information on the multiplayer Doom Federation, visit doomfederation.com. And for more podcasts just like this one, head your ass over to inthekeep.com. You can also support our entire network of shows from our support tab right there on the homepage. Peace out. We love you.